not the executive director. I am the special projects director at Seniors Council for the Aging and Disability Resource Connection. So just a point of correction there. Clay Kemp, my boss and supervisor, had addressed this body, I believe, back in September. So we're giving it all to you, 1212. And I wanted to follow up his presentation and talk a little bit more about our ADRC project in San Benito County. Is there a way I could share, somebody can allow me to share screen?
Sure. Could you mute yours?
Great, let's see here. All right. If that seems to be an issue, I can certainly do without the PowerPoint presentation.
I'd like to see it if you can get it on there.
Yeah. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. So not a big, oh, there. Not a big deal. I can just proceed without it. It's not a major deal one way or the other. So
what I wanted to allowed you access. So you have access. You should have access now.
Okay. There we go. Right now. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we'll go into. There we go. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So our Aging and Disability Resource Connection of San Benito County, our project has been around now for a little while. We've suffered a few delays given the COVID-19 precautions and not being able to get out and meet as many people as we'd like to and build our coalition and all. But we're kind of forging ahead, and I just wanted to share some of the broad strokes ideas of what goes on with an Aging and Disability Resource Connection to let the group know kind of what benefits would be supported by an ADRC in San Benito County. Seniors Council is the area agency on aging for Santa Cruz and San Benito County, and as such, we've received some grant funds, and you've got an outline or an overview, I guess, in your packet, talking a little bit about the grant and what we're charged with doing under that grant. And the shorthand of it essentially is the tagline here for the presentation, which is person-centered, community-based, long-term services and support choices and supported decision-making. And that's a lot, which I hope I'll be able to unpack for this group as we're going forward here in the presentation. So that said, so an ADRC is a network of aging and disability service providers working together to help people access the services they need to live where they want to and how they want to live. And having said that, that sounds pretty straightforward, but that's a lot harder to do than I think many people in this group might understand. Typically, aging and human services more broadly has a litany of service supports that are available to eligible individuals. And if you sort of fit in that you know, if you're that round peg that fits in that round hole, great. But if you're not that individual and you don't fit neatly into there, it's a very confusing and fraught process in getting the services that you need to support you living in community. And that's what the ADRC is essentially geared towards. It's giving people the supports and the information and services they need to remain in the community of their choice for as long as possible. So part of the goal of, you know, being able to live where you want and how you want is, you know, the idea that people want to lead meaningful lives. And so some of the things about, you know, building and maintaining relationships with friends and family and living independently and maybe participating in community life, you know, finding employment if you're otherwise compromised, but need to work or want to be involved in and have a work life. Those are available through a person-centered approach of the ADRC. And I'll talk more about person-centeredness in a minute, but essentially the ADRC isn't a location. It's not a brick and mortar spot, although we do have Jóvenes de Antaño as one of our core partners, and they certainly have service staff available to do a lot of the work that we're talking about here. But more broadly speaking, it's a larger network of organizations and nonprofits and faith-based organizations and many other entities in the community working together to meet the needs of individuals who are aging or who are living with disability. So all that sounds well and fine, I'm guessing, but I think the question should be asked: what does an ADRC specifically offer for San Juan Bautista residents, and in fact residents of all of San Benito County? And I think that's a fair question. I think the first thing that I would point to is access, and again, something that seems pretty straightforward. You have a telephone number, you have an address, you have hours of operation. I'll go there, I'll make that call, I'll get that service. Well, again, not as easily done as one might think. And so access is a big part of the ADRC activities and supports. And we're focused on an approach called no wrong door. And no wrong door, although that's a little bit of a funny turn of the phrase, essentially means access to the services and supports that people need, regardless of which organization they contacted first. So it means no wrong door is the right door the first time. And let me unpack that a little bit. So for example, if you go into Jóvenes de Antaño and you need transportation services, they can hook you up and get you the transportation services that you need to help you get to a medical appointment or some of those kinds of needs. But beyond that, the problem becomes if, in addition to transportation, I need food supports or I need help with enrolling in Part D so I can get a discount on my prescription medications. The idea with a no wrong door approach is that by entering the door to talk to somebody about transportation services, they can help you identify other needs you might have and either provide information or provide effective referrals, or even do an enrollment for some programs that aren't directly related to the provider who you're talking to. They're part of a net service provider network that supports one another and provides access to individuals across the spectrum. So no wrong door is a hallmark of ADRC services. And again, not something that I think many people would understand can be an issue. Access can also be a problem if you're, if you're not an English speaker, or if you're mobility impaired and the organization that you're talking to only does in-person enrollments. Some of these things have been addressed with COVID-19 because we're doing more work remotely. But even today, those are still difficult lifts for a lot of people, is to complete an enrollment process for one of the programs that they need to support themselves in community. So access is a huge part. The other sort of main focus, or a major focus anyway, of the ADRC is enhanced information assistance and referral services. And that's around decision making. And it's, it kind of means the right help when it's needed for as long as you need it to remain safely in your home and community. And again, accurate information that's timely, and information that's up to date. How are in-person operation hours affected given COVID-19 and us working at a distance these days? That kind of information wouldn't typically be in a database, but it's something our ADRC staff people would know, understand, and be able to communicate, rather than have you waste a trip down to a location that isn't taking in-person clients presently. So information, assistance, and referral is vital to making really good decisions, and enhanced information and referral is somebody working with you to sort through a myriad of information and distill it down to the information you need to make a good decision about your long-term care services options. The long-term services and support options counseling is another core service of the ADRC. And options counseling is essentially talking to people about what their options are to live within the community, given their needs and given the kinds of assistance that's available to them. This is important in a lot of different ways, because I think, as many of you all understand, our model for many years, for decades prior to maybe the last 20 years or so, 30 years, I guess now with Olmsted, has been that when you got old enough or you got sick enough or you were disabled enough, you would go into a long-term care facility, an institutional program to provide for your needs. It's only maybe in the past 30 or 40 years that we've kind of gotten to the place where we're saying, hey, those services should be delivered in home, in community as much as possible. People should live in a less restrictive environment, a least restrictive environment, and they ought to be able to live in the community and home of their choice insofar as is possible. So, these are discussions, and long-term services and support options counseling are discussions around what's the appropriate long-term care choice for the consumer in question. And it takes into account their needs, their preferences, their values, and their individual circumstances, financial and otherwise. So, coming up with the right options to meet someone's need given their particular circumstance is what long-term services and support options counseling is about. Short-term service coordination is yet another service that is mandated and provided by the ADRC. Short-term service coordination means expedited access to services and supports for somebody who's at risk of institutionalization. And again, that's not easily done. Many organizations and agencies have case management staff or an INA specialist, that sort of. Not many of those kinds of organizations invest in somebody who's, action ready with short-term service coordination when that phone rings and somebody says, I'm being discharged from the hospital tomorrow, or I'm not being discharged from, I'm transitioning from my own home into maybe an assisted living environment, or I'm transitioning from driving myself to needing somebody to provide transportation for me because I can no longer drive. And there's not a lot of lead time for many of those, and they're imperative if the person is to maintain their safety, well-being, and thrive in the community of their choice. So short-term services coordination is a core service support. And then there's transition services, and that's what I almost said earlier or spoke about here in the previous slide. Transition services is help for individuals who are currently in a hospital or a nursing facility and other institutions and want to return to community, want to return to the community-based setting. And that may not be back to their original home, but maybe it's in a setting where they can receive the supports they need to, again, maintain their independence and be safe and to thrive. So this transition service is another one. It's a work-ready force that until somebody's ready to discharge, everybody's kind of sitting around and waiting. So how do you activate within a network those groups of that group of people who can sit down around a table or virtually around a table and discuss a case and try to get somebody the supports they need as they're transitioning back home? So those are all important services that people need to have in place if they're going to make a go of it in community. And finally, all of this is sort of hinges on an underlying philosophy, and that's person-centeredness. And again, one of those things that I think most people would assume happens when people are reaching out for help and otherwise accessing services in their community. But the fact of the matter is that's generally not the way things work. We have programs, and if you fit, I'll tell you about them and I'll try to get you enrolled. And, if it's not quite the exact fit you need, I'm sorry, that's sort of all I've got. Person-centeredness is a different approach. It means planning and providing and organizing all of these services rooted in listening to people and then helping them live in the community based on their choices. The services are flexible, they're adaptive, and they encourage informed choice and creativity. So it's about working with somebody to get them what they really need to thrive in the community of their choice, not just sort of what you have in your index of service options that your organization has or can make available. It's knowing the entire network's services and being able to get people to the right person to enroll in the program that's really going to benefit them the most. So all of that, I would assume, I'm hoping anyway, that all of you see that as reasonable. But then why an ADRC? If you've got Hoveniz, if you've got all these organizations that work and serve San Benito County well, why do you need this? And I think it's a fair question because, San Benito County is blessed with a wealth of goodwill and, human capital and, neighbor helping neighbor sort of spirit and philosophy. And it's worked now for generations, but the area is changing, and the services and supports are complex enough that I think it's reasonable to assume that there's no one entity that really knows everything. So the power of the network is in putting all of our heads together to solve problems. And this is an example of the problem. And it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but this is the slide's titled Periodic Table of California's Long-Term Care Programs and Services for Older Adults and Individuals with Disability. And the bright yellow on the far right is aging services. So those are probably more familiar to me than many of the others that are listed on here. But as you can see, you know, depending on who you are and what your needs are, you might very conveniently slot into one of these program services or another, or you may need bits and pieces of these, a little of this or a little of that, again, to live in the community where you want to live and to thrive there. And so being able to navigate this system is, it's complex. And so that's why I would suggest we need an ADRC. We need an ADRC because there's no one of us that can navigate this incredibly complex system by themselves. And I guess I would finish up or get close to finishing up here by just maybe restating some of this. That the ADRC is important because what we're doing is we're addressing a really complex and fragmented system in a way that's going to get people who are vulnerable or who otherwise would have a difficult time maybe accessing a lot of these services. And certainly I think you can imagine a lot of older adults, individuals with disability, family caregivers who, you know, work full time and are trying to figure this out at 9 o'clock at night. We need to provide them a way to get the information they need so they can make good decisions and help one another sort of arrive at the place they need to be for community living. So access to information and enrollment processes, the ability to provide supporting documentation. You have to have an assessment for most services. You know, most services are dependent on your age, your disability, or how you acquired your disability, or maybe it's just dependent on your location. Some counties run certain waiver programs that other counties don't. And the ability to hire and manage care attendants and do you know, timesheet submittal and all of those kinds of things. And finally, the ability to maintain eligibility through recertification and the evolving needs. Because as soon as you got all of this lined up, the problem's going to be that your needs will change, or potentially your needs will change. So in all of that, I would say we need an ADRC because we need it, but we know somebody who does. And I think in a small community like San Juan Bautista, or in a small county like San Benito County, I think it's important that we provide helpers. And again, I would consider everybody on this call and everybody in a small community as helpers of somebody or another. It provides them with the information and the resources they need to really help somebody in a way that can make a difference and be impactful in people's lives. Here are some of these are our core partners, the three grantees. Jóvenes de Antaño and Seniors Council and Central Coast Center for Independent Living. We're working actively to establish more extended partnerships, and that would be with Veteran Services, with Hazel Hawkins, with a lot of other partners who are gradually signing on and becoming a part of this network where we can train together, information share together, and develop programs and services to meet the broader community needs. So I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise I think that's pretty, that's kind of it in a nutshell. And as we go forward and develop more of these core services and train on more of the supports and become more of an integrated network, I would love the opportunity to check in and tell you how things are progressing. And that is it.
Leslie, you're muted.
Thank you for that. Sorry, thank you very much for that presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do we have any comments from the council, Councilman Freeman?
Not right now. Just thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman. Thank you.
Councilman Friels?
No, thank you.
Vice Mayor Flores?
Thank you for your presentation. A lot of information there.
Thank you. It's dense.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Edge?
I'd just like to thank Britt for coming this evening and doing such a nice presentation. And I'm just curious, my neighbor had a fall and she ended up in the emergency room and her doctor calling her doctor. But how does ADRC come to play with something like that? She has a physical therapist coming to her home now, but how would it help her? In what way?
Oh, Mary, great question. And I appreciate all your support too, and all your involvement in aging services planning and organization here in our service area in both Santa Cruz and San Benito counties. Thank you. So, that's a really good example. An ADRC would have knowledge of fall prevention resources so that hopefully, if she had been able to identify an unsteady gait or having difficulty with balance, or maybe she's, taking a new medication and those kinds of things, hopefully somebody early on would have been able to identify that, refer her to program supports, and, we could do some interventions to help prevent the fall to begin with. After the fall, as she gets ready to transition back home, she may need a personal care attendant. She may need, a whole litany. So maybe she needs meals delivery for a while because she's unable to prepare her own food. Maybe she needs transportation because of the injury. She's not able to drive herself anymore, or maybe never was to begin with. So I think it's about, number one, intervening early on and as much as possible providing prevention resources to keep bad things from happening. But then once they do happen, to sort of, again, open up the box wide, find out what her needs are by talking with her, and really clearly identifying the kinds of support she needs going back home. And that's in combination with what she already has. Maybe there's a daughter that can come by 3 days a week, and that needs to be factored in. Maybe there's a grab bar installation that needs to be done so that in getting in and out of the shower now, she doesn't feel vulnerable. So there's those kinds of things. And, again, a good ADRC, if you don't know if you as an employee of any of the organizations that are a part of that network don't know what the resources are, then you know a number you can call, a body you can call through Hovan to get referred to the right organization, to get the support she needs so she doesn't end up back in the hospital. 50% of individuals who fall again within a very short period of time afterwards. So, it's one of those things that without those services in place, we're just sort of recycling the same laundry, and I don't mean to refer to people as laundry, but you're just sort of doing the same thing over and over again rather than actually intervening in a meaningful way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So what can San Juan Bautista do for you? How can we help you? How do you get your name out there to every other agency and then to every member of the community?
Yeah, that honestly, Mayor, that is the difficult part. I think, we kind of work within siloed systems, and honestly, I have my hands full just sort of remembering and being able to orient myself around all of the aging services that my own organization is responsible for, let alone aging services beyond the scope of my organization. And then beyond that, disability services, broader based, maybe food and nutrition supports for people of any age, and on and on. So I think the idea would be that as much as possible, members of this body, ask your local providers, ask people that you come into contact with in the community, where they're getting their services and supports from. And if they're not satisfied with them, or they're not getting services and support sufficient to their needs to enable them to stay in their homes and stay in their communities, then we need to talk with them. we need to talk with them and identify services and supports that potentially can help them stay there longer and more safely. So I think it's about person-centeredness and no wrong door becoming embedded in kind of the philosophy of the community, that it doesn't matter whether you're coming in my door or my neighbor's door, one of us is going to help you. And person-centeredness, we're not going to help you by doing for you or doing to you, but by first listening to you, identifying what it is that's important to you and what you've identified as what your needs are, and trying to address those. So again, it's that conversation around needs and desires and how to support people who want to thrive and live in San Juan for as long as they possibly can. And I don't think anybody can. I don't think anybody can disparage that goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
you
you
for everything.
Yeah,
If
thank
you if you can stay on for a moment longer to see if there's any public comment
Oh,
on
sure.
this.
Yeah, be happy to. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment? Okay, I guess not. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you now.
Okay, 4C, monthly financial statements. City Manager Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our December report. Could you turn your volume down? Julie? Thank you. I've got an echo. I can't hear myself. We should be at about 42% on our revenues and expenses. The good news is, well, the not surprising news, I'll just put it that way. Our general fund is down. It's about 3% behind schedule. And most likely that's our sales tax being reflected there as a direct result of COVID. Not as bad as we were concerned it would be. On the other side, we are saving money and our general fund is spending 37% of what it should be. So our revenues for general fund are not as good as we'd like them to be, but we're saving money on the expenses. So we're going to break even there. The one fund I am monitoring is the sewer fund. You'll notice that the sewer operations is receiving at 41%, right on target, but unfortunately it's spending about 5% high. So we need to keep an eye on our sewer fund. If the council has any other questions or any questions at all about any of the specific checks that we've cut in the past month or anything at all in this report, I'm happy to respond.
Thank you very much. Councilman Freeman.
Not right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Friels,
No comments, thank you.
Vice Mayor Flores,
No comments, thank you.
Councilwoman Edge.
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any comments from the public? No? Okay. I just wanted to say that it was really nice to see all the checks that were cut for our business owners for the last round of grants. That was pretty awesome to see. Awesome. Thank you very much for that report. Moving right along into the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is my first report of the year. There's a lot to cover, and there's also a lot of this information on our agenda tonight. We have a status report on the urban growth boundary. Later today, I have written a pretty extensive email to the City Council and the Planning Commission discussing the status of our urban growth boundary ad hoc committee. There may be some changes to that depending on the appointment of planning commissioners and et cetera. We are looking at bringing forward a presentation specifically on annexation. We're getting a lot of pressure and inquiry from property owners on the south side along the Alameda. And we thought that it would be good timing to talk about the UGB and the ad hoc committee work and sphere of influence. So we're planning that for February presentation. because on this agenda, we're asking the city council to look at SB2 grant, which also looks at that similar Alameda corridor. So I will wait until that presentation to cover that matter. We have something called the local agency planning grant, the LEAP grant, and we're working with updating our ADU, accessory dwelling unit ordinance, and our inclusionary housing ordinance. So that project's about 60% through. So we've got a lot of community development work happening right now. We are okay. And then the next paragraph is all about First Street, and that's later on our agenda tonight, traffic control for First Street. We have a conversation ongoing with an internet provider, ISP provider called Etheric. And they have done some work for the city of Hollister and with the city of Hollister. And when I learned from the Economic Development Corporation that they were working there, we invited them to explore opportunities here in San Juan Bautista. And there is a band with fiber going through our city. It connects the city halls and the libraries and the schools. And so they have been able to come to an agreement with the owner of the windmill property to access that fiber and bring it into the windmill and then project that up to our water tower. So they're working on that, and they thought by the end of February they would have access the line and could possibly bring better, faster access to the internet to our city within the next 4 to 6 months. So we would lease then, propose a lease to the city council where the subscribers put up the Etheric puts up an antenna on our water tower, and then they sell subscriptions like they would for any other vendor. Working with the Rotary Access team, we're addressing concerns regarding access to low-income users, especially the students in our community. They have access to a federal grant that's part of the COVID-19 relief. We're hoping that can be passed on to our low-income users here in town. They hope to get 2 megabytes download speed and 250 megabytes upload speed. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that the Etheric can accomplish that quickly. I've got a quick review on the financial status. The budget numbers are a little higher than expected because of the property tax income. It's offsetting some of our sales tax. That's why the sales tax is, that's why the general fund is only 3% down, as previously reported. On the water update, I've also got water update later on this agenda. There is some neat things happening. Just one thing in particular I'll highlight. The others are covered in the update itself. We are looking at an agreement and to bring it forward in February with a water technology firm called Microbi. And Microbi has received a Bill Gates grant to place equipment at well 6 that would organically remove nitrates from the water and hopefully be able enable us to put well 6 back online, which is really great. We would be paying for the operations and maintenance, but we hope to get a site plan approved by the water board. We've been working closely with our partners at the state to get the Microbi product on our well 6 and maybe find a cure that'll satisfy the nitrate issue there with well 6. On the COVID update, I attended a county emergency-wide operations meeting this last Friday. We do this every Friday morning. They're making some changes. They encourage people to sign up for Cal Notify, canotify.ca.gov to help with the contract tracing, so that if a contact of yours reports positive, that you get an alert from the state letting you know that you've been possibly in contact with someone who's been sick. So important for everyone to sign up for the canotify.ca.gov. The state has been experiencing cases of 70 per 100, and our county remains above 80 and occasionally hits 100 cases. Yesterday it was only 59. So we're watching that carefully, and I'll report more about enforcement and some other issues under the COVID update for the city council. I did mention public safety here in my status report, that we have 3 public safety efforts, including Officer Brown, level 1, and the sheriff's office working together. We've issued 3 of the $1,000 fines to a certain business in town, and we're hoping to be working closely with the ABC in that regard and see what further enforcement that they can help us with to get them into compliance with the COVID. We did have a house fire last month, and our fire department did an incredible job responding quickly and keeping that fire to one home. So I wanted to tip my hat to our fire department for that effort in December. And with that, that's what I have to report in terms of status. Mayor, City Council, let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much for that. Councilman Freeman, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Not right now. Thank you very much.
Councilman Friels, questions, comments, concerns?
None right now. Thank you for the report.
Vice Mayor Flores, questions, comments, concerns?
Don, I would just, my question is when we get, if and when we get, or no, when we get the Wi-Fi, is that, we change over to this vendor or from our existing, or how does that work?
Oh, it's a subscription service. So if you have the ability at your house to end one service and start another, you don't have a contract that locks you in, and you can break that contract, then you can offer out and sign up for the new service. Whether or not the city will leave charter, that's to be determined. We do have trouble with our internet access here. It's going in and out often. So Trish and I will be looking at that in more detail. But it's just as you can choose AT&T or Verizon, Etheric would offer a different option for our citizens.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Edge?
I'd like to know, going to the broadband, will there be a fee or not for the low income residents?
The way it was described to me is that they would offer a discount. So if they charge 25 cents and the total cost is $1, the federal government would pay them directly for the 75 cents, and the subscriber would still be paying the reduced amount. So I have not heard any information about no charge internet, free internet. I haven't heard that one.
And how will it work for them? Will it be easy for them to pay the quarter that they're going to owe? How is it going to work?
It would just be a monthly invoice. Like your phone bill.
What was that?
It would be a monthly invoice, just like your phone bill or other internet services.
What happens if they don't pay?
They get cut off.
Well, the PUC says you can't cut them off, at least with water. I'm not sure exactly how that applies to internet access. That's a
Okay,
good question. I can ask that question of them, and you'll have a chance to ask them directly in a couple weeks, I hope.
okay. Thank you, John. Good report. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm actually looking forward to this micro-V at Well 6. That's going to be fun. And our public works people are going to have up close and personal contact with this, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. That's going to be great. Very cool. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment? Awesome. Moving right along. Reports from city council representatives to regional organizations. Councilman Freeman.
Yes, last week I attended an AMBAG meeting, and they basically did the same thing we're doing tonight, which is going over financials. We also went over the 2035 transportation plan, which is the overall plan of how we're going to move people around the Tri-County area. It's a kind of a 20,000 foot overview, but they're planning roads, freeways, improvements, things like that. So I had some input on some of the San Benito County problem areas. So next thing I'd like to talk about is the internet access. One of the things I also do is I'm a member of the Central Coast Broadband Consortium, which is an organization that's devoted to just get better internet access for the Tri-County area. And Mr. Andrew, I forget his last name, of Etheric came to this area at our urging, and the installation is being subsidized by the federal government, a USDA grant. And he's got a USDA grant of, I think, $70,000. Maybe it's more than that. I can't remember the exact amount of money. But anyway, it's a considerable amount of money for him to attach into the fiber line that runs through the town and to put up his equipment. To further amplify what Don said, you know, it's the way I look at it, the more ISPs, which stands for Internet Service Provider, the better. It's more competition. Eventually, it should lead to either better service or lower prices, or hopefully both. So this will give us another option, and hopefully it'll work out. If you know, I would judge carefully. You need to judge speed versus reliability versus price, and then you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Friels?
Don't have anything.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Flores?
No, I'm okay. Thank you. No questions.
Any report on any committees you're on?
Oh, I attended a leadership meeting for the homeless. And the 2021 point in time homeless census has been postponed until 2022 because of the COVID. I also attended a LAFCO meeting where we approved 18.35 acres in Aromas so that they could hook up to the local water system. And there was a selection of officers for the new coming year, and also it's just an overview of the urban growth boundaries and spheres of influence for San Juan and Hollister. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you. Councilmember Edge?
I have a seniors council meeting tomorrow morning and COG on Thursday at 6 p.m. So I don't have anything to report right now.
Thank you very much. And we have not met either for the Water Association. Awesome. Any public comment? Okay. Action items. At this time, we are going to go with 4A, the presentation for the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit by our auditor, Ryan Jolly. Sorry for the delay in putting you back further.
In fact, I'm not sure if Ryan's able to make it tonight. Thank you, Mayor. Wendy Cummings, our CPA, is here, and she and I have both reviewed the audit. And Wendy, are you able to present the highlights for us?
Yes, of course. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. So you have in front of you the final audit report for the June 30th, 2020 year end. It was performed by our auditors, Brian Jolly. This year's audit was performed remotely and electronically, which thankfully over the last couple of years, we've already kind of transitioned to that area. So given the COVID conditions and being in the office place and whatnot, we were able to pull through on a fairly quick speed to get the audit completed, the documentation. And I'm happy to report that your audit this year is another clean audit, as opposed to a modified opinion should they have found something in our audit documentation that was questionable, or a disclaimer opinion. So we are receiving another clean opinion this year. In addition, there were no significant changes, new pronouncements, whatnot. in the audit report. So thankfully, we didn't have to implement new standards. And they had no adjusting entries. So I'm happy to report back to you that we had another clean year.
And Wendy, I noticed that we're maybe even slightly better off than last year.
Correct, yes. Surprisingly, looking through the numbers comparing to last year, I mean, this year, when I look at our change in net position, we're doing surprisingly better than we had anticipated. And you have to be careful because you want to strip out the developer activity, because if we net out the change in net position for our developer income, we are doing better. So the prior year, we had a lot of income from developers, but we did better than we really anticipated. And even in the current year, we're doing okay for right now. We're keeping a good eye on the numbers to see if property taxes are doing good, sales taxes are hanging in there for the most part, and we'll continue to keep a pulse on things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Questions from the council? Councilmember Freeman,
No questions.
Councilmember Friels,
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Flores,
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Edge.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a quick question. On page 15, we talk about the summary of significant accounting policies. And it talks about capital assets, which include property, plant, equipment, infrastructure, things like that. We have a piece of equipment. Don and I spoke about it. Does this fall under that, the pellet plant? Are we still paying on that, or has it totally depreciated?
On the pellet plant, I don't know. I have to go back and look in the depreciation schedule. I don't recall if it's fully depreciated. I believe that it would not be, because I think it would have about a 15-year life. But we should, if it's not being used and it's on the books, we should take it off.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do we have any public comment?
I don't see any hands, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, then going to 5G, adopt a resolution accepting the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit. Don, do you have anything else to report out on that?
Oh, I think I have the same reply that Wendy has. Our net position was actually a couple $100,000 stronger this year. Page 3 of the audit. I'm just really pleased to see the results and how effortlessly, for me anyway, Wendy does a great job in putting that together, and just wanted to thank her and Ryan Jolly. Actually, they were sick in December, and that's why I wasn't coming to you in December. So, but we got it done, and everyone's fine, and it's all going to be good. Thank you.
Nice, thank you very much. Any questions, any other questions, comments, or concerns from council members? Councilmember Freeman,
No.
Councilmember Friels,
None right now, thank you.
Vice Mayor Flores,
No comment.
Councilmember Edge,
No,
any public comment?
Seeing none.
I'd like to call for a motion then.
I'd like to move that we adopt the resolution accepting the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Shauna, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, this is resolution 2021-01. Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
And that motion passes with a 5-0.
Thank you very much. Up to the top. Approval of the mayor's selection of city council representatives to regional organizations. Please sit by. While I get to the correct page. Okay, I think we have everybody in place. Primary for LAFCO is Vice Mayor Flores. And a second for Councilmember Friels. AMBAG, we have a first for Councilmember Freeman. Do I have a second for that?
Why don't we do them all together? I have a comment. The meeting time is wrong on LAFCO.
Okay,
It's supposed to be the third Wednesday at 6 p.m., but I think they're having it on the second Wednesday because we just had it on the second Wednesday. So.
second Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Right.
Thank you very much. Okay, AMBAG, Councilmember Freeman. Does anybody want to be a second on that one?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, COG, I have a first as Councilmember Edge and second as Scott Friels. Water Resources Agency, I have a first as myself and a second as John Freeman. West Nile Virus, I have a first as Mary Edge. If there is not a second, is it that we do not need one? That's a question.
Yeah, I think it's that we don't need one.
Okay. Integrated Waste, John Freeman. Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District, it goes to Hollister this year. CMAP board, it is vacant. I think for a while it was Artestani, who is a Rotarian, and he no longer attends meetings. Is there anybody who wants to take that on?
What does it entail?
I'll take it on.
I don't know it's monthly meeting. That's all I know.
I'll take it on,
Okay.
Mayor.
Thank you very much. Intergovernmental committee, John Freeman and myself. Ad hoc committee for parking within the city, that's Mary and myself. Ad hoc committee for the sphere of influence and the urban growth boundary, Mary and Scott are taking that one on. Scott moves over from the planning commission. Ad hoc for the sheriff's committee, I have Scott and Mary Edge. Ad hoc committee for cannabis, I have Scott and John Freeman. Investment advisory committee, I don't have anybody for. Would anybody like to take that one on? It's an as needed basis.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll go for it.
So John, do you want to take it?
Yes, I'll be glad to take that one. Yes.
Okay. San Benito Homeless Planning Group, Cesar and Mary. Monterey San Benito County Continuum of Care Leadership Council, Cesar.
That's Those two unit, those things are together, basically.
They're the same, yeah.
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Okay.
That's a leadership council.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much. Monterey Bay, sorry, John, what's it called again?
Community Power Authority.
The energy, we're no longer part of it. It switches over to Hollister.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
2 years, we'll come back.
And the area on aging, I have Marion Cesar.
Okay.
Any members from the council have any questions, comments, or concerns about this? Councilmember Freeman?
No, sounds good to me.
I have a question.
Can you hang on for 1 second?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels,
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Flores.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Edge, all you.
So who's taking LAFCO?
Cesar.
Oh,
Okay.
I stayed there.
Okay, so who's a backup?
Scott.
Okay, good. I missed that one.
And Scott, if you want to get together with me later, we can hook up.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. Shauna, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Edge,
yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Who?
Cesar.
Oh,
That's you.
yes, yes. Aye.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes,
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes,
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
Motion passes with a 5-0.
Thank you. 5B, consider recommendation of council ad hoc committee and appointment of 2 planning commissioners for 4-year terms ending December 2024. Staff report. Is this the staff or is this?
So Mayor, the city council appointed a subcommittee. The city attorney brought forward a new policy for appointing planning commissioners, and it was approved last calendar year. So it's in place, and following through with that, the city council appointed a council member Edge and Vice Mayor Flores to go through the applications, and we got 5 applications. And come forward tonight with a recommendation. And I know that they've been working really hard, and I'll let Mary and Cesar report back.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Edge?
Okay, so would you like the results now?
Go through your process
all right,
and
Okay,
go through the process and let us know who.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank everybody that applied. It was a hard decision, but we came up with a lot of good applicants. And of the 5 applicants, we ended up with 2, because that's all we could have. So our choices were Jackie Morris Lopez and Dr. Mary Baines were the 2 individuals that we selected.
Councilmember Flores, do you have anything to add?
Just share that we did develop an applicant scorecard, and we basically went through what we felt was needed for these positions, and that's a selection that we made. That's it.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns from our council members, Council Member Freeman.
Yes, I just was wondering if all the applications were received by the appropriate date. And I just kind of like to know how you arrived at that decision. You know, the planning is critical. You have to have a knowledge of CEQA, you have to have a knowledge of the general plan, and you have to have a knowledge of people, and you have to have a knowledge of processes. And I just want to make sure all of those people have that. Thank you.
They qualified. They're well qualified.
Tells me nothing.
Dr. Mary Baines has several years on the Planning Commission, prior years. She's not on there anymore, but she is a planning commissioner, former planning commissioner from the city of East Palo Alto.
Okay, thank you.
And I think you know a lot about Jackie, so I really don't have to tell you that much about Jackie.
Councilmember Friels?
Yeah, I had a question. When was the filing date? Dawn, do you have any idea when the filing date was?
I can't remember it. Don, can you help us there?
I believe it was the 12th, actually.
That's correct.
Okay. Is that,
But
I knew somebody who was going to apply, but they didn't get to, by the time they committed, it was the 13th, so they didn't apply. And I did see one of the applications that was turned in was on the 13th, or it was filled out on the 13th. So is that, I mean, it seems to me like that person missed the filing date. And I have another question. Dan DeVries has been on our planning commission, was on our planning commission for almost a decade, and the same with the San Benito County Planning Commission. And he's a land use attorney. Pretty healthy resume. Not sure why he was passed over. And if we could find out if, and I forget which applicant had their application dated on the 13th, but if we could find that out, that might help with some decisions also. Thank you.
I can answer that. I have the all the applicants right here in front of me, and they all dated January 4th, January 4th, January 7th, and January 11th is the latest, and that's Dan DeVries, for your information. There's no 13.
we did have one that was dated the 13th, but there was an explanation that came to me from our city manager. And the reason we had a deadline date was basically so we could get applicants, but it wasn't to eliminate anybody. Is that correct, Don?
I interpret the policy. Deb might be able to help us out with that. It's not in the statute, but I get Scott's point. If someone didn't apply because they were late, then it doesn't seem equitable.
No, it does not.
Yeah, Bob Cole wanted to apply, and he looked it up on the city website, and he was a day late, so he didn't apply.
So is one of the recommended people, did their application come in on the 13th? Or were both were those timely?
It came on the 13th.
One of the recommended people.
Yes, but you know, what we did, to make it fair, we had a score sheet. And so her numbers came up higher than some of the others.
She still missed the date.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
She was
Wait a minute.
considered. I was told that she could still be
It doesn't
considered.
legally matter, Mary. You just can't ignore rules.
Dawn, was I wrong in asking you if it was acceptable to accept her application, you said it was okay. And that you had checked with Deborah.
Deborah and I did not have a chance to talk about that.
Okay.
It's not like a job application. Well, yeah, this makes it tough.
So I might suggest you have the opportunity now to, based on the policy, to vote on these people. So you might identify the one that had the application submitted on the 13th. But you're supposed to vote on each of them and they're supposed to get a majority. So you might want to, start with the one that had the correct deadline and see if that passes council majority. And then go to the second one and see if that achieves a majority of votes.
So
Or should
I
we
would
have-
make a motion that we accept the applications of Dan DeVries and EJ Sabathia for planning commissioners.
We, before we take a motion, thank you very
Okay, I'll
much.
make the motion.
Huh?
I made the motion.
And
So I don't know
before
that
we-
that's the proper process under the city code. The city code is that the subcommittee is supposed to bring the names to the city council and they're supposed to be voted on. So one of the subcommittee should make the motion on the ones that they bring forward.
And before we have any motion, we need public comment.
Yes, you do.
So do we have any public comment?
Sabathia?
I have a comment if it's my turn to speak.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I shouldn't take up that much time. So my name is EJ Sabathia. I submitted an application. Would like to note that I submitted it well before the deadline, but I would like to understand more about the process of scoring specifically. What were pluses, what were minuses, so that in the future I can, maybe if I'm not selected, do anything that I can to try to make myself as, someone who would be seen as worthy of a position like this. That's all.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
Priscilla's got her hand up.
I have my hand up. Oh, Yolanda.
Thank you very much. You have 3 minutes.
Who, me or Yolanda? Go ahead,
Priscilla?
Priscilla.
Priscilla? Okay. Hi, my name is Priscilla Rivera. I'm also one of the applicants that submitted the application. I actually agree with EJ. We would like to know how the scoring was actually completed and what the process is. However, I disagree with the fact that this is supposed to be a community-based and is not a job application. So therefore, having someone who has already been in this position for a decade should not automatically qualify them to be slotted in to this planning commission position once it's emptied again. I'm not saying to disregard their experience. However, it should not be a given just because of their experience in the past. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Yolanda?
Hi, I'm Yolanda Delgado and I live on Franklin. Mary, you did ask Don and he said it was okay. Is that my understanding?
Yep.
Okay. And following the rules, Mr. Freeman, you did not recuse yourself when your wife ran for planning commission. You voted for her. So let's not get all high and mighty about following the rules. Okay? So if Mary accepted this application and asked Don about it, I don't know the woman, I don't know anybody on there but Jackie, but if Mary asked, and if that other person didn't apply because he read what he read, why should we consider that person? And again, I don't know anybody but Jackie. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then Jackie?
Jackie, go ahead.
Yes.
You have 3 minutes.
Morris Lopez. I just want to say, I feel, as one of the applicants and one of the chosen at this point, I just want to say thank you for your confidence. It's feeling kind of uncomfortable at this point, being a community member, observing the process right now. And, I think we all that applied, we honestly, want to do what's right for San Juan Bautista. We're concerned about future growth and development. I would say stick to the rules. I mean, if anyone wants to know, I put my application in on January 4th. It was clearly told to me that there was a January 12th deadline. And I think regardless of what you saw on the city site, we just need to stick to the rules. We just need to follow the rules and be fair. I also want to say that, good luck to the others. It's hard. We all want to be involved. And I think that, if we're not chosen, we still have the avenue to come to these meetings and be engaged and volunteer and do whatever we can. There's a process for it. So, like I said, thanks once again for the confidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, thank you. I want to thank all of the applicants. Super thrilled that we have new community members who were excited enough to apply. I think that's awesome and commendable and welcome to the community. Where do we go from here?
Does the committee want to expand a little bit on the rating? I think both PJ and Priscilla had asked about the criteria. Maybe we want to elaborate on that a little bit.
So we decided to come up with a point system 1 through 10. And if there were questions that were questionable, we rated it, whether it was a 10 or a 1 or an 8. And just to let everybody know what the scores were, Jackie Morris's was 128. Priscilla Ribeiro was 102. EJ Sabathia was 117. Dan DeVries was 90. And Dr. Mary Baines was 120. And those are my scores. I don't know what CESA's scores were.
Did you interview them?
I did not. I read their applications. I read their applications.
Just written applications. Okay, thank you.
And whoever turned in resumes, we considered all of that.
Okay.
We did call one of the applicants and we were unable to get in touch with them because we had some questions. But we just went on the application.
Okay, again, I ask, where do we go from here?
I guess I make a motion to accept the selectees of the ad hoc committee for planning commission.
And I'll second it.
I would vote on them separately just to make a good record.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so
Okay, thank you for that. Shauna, can we get a roll call vote for Jackie Morris Lopez, please?
Yes, Councilmember Edge,
yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
No,
Councilmember Freeman,
No,
Mayor Jordan,
Yes.
and that motion passes with a 3-2. Council members Freeman and Friels voting no.
Thank you very much. Dr. Baines, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
No.
Councilmember Friels,
No.
Mayor Jordan,
Yes.
and that motion passes with a 3-2.
Yes.
Who is that?
I don't know.
That was Jackie.
I think that was
That was,
Jackie.
that was the person that you chose, Mary.
Oh, she was muted.
No, she wasn't.
No, she wasn't.
That's professionalism.
Thank you very much for all who applied. Our new
Planning Commissioner.
thank you. Our new planning commissioner and HRB members are Jackie Morse and Dr. Baines.
Thank you to all who applied. I think we have a good group. But thank you.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. You're
I said
breaking
thank
up.
you to everybody who applied.
Thank you.
And again, I'd like to thank everybody that applied and encourage them not to give up their civic duties and their service and continue volunteering in our community.
Next is to appoint the appointment of city treasurer for a 2-year term ending December 2022. Can I get a staff report on that, please?
Yes, you may. The city treasurer is an elected position. The city attorney provided her opinion and process moving forward when no one chooses to run for office. So that was the case this year. No one ran for office. So the council agreed with the city attorney and moved forward with an appointment process. And applications were received, 2 were received, and the city manager was directed to recommend whom he felt was the best candidate for the job. And I recommended Ms. Sabathia for that position this time.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments, and concerns? Councilmember Friels? I'm sorry, Councilmember Freeman.
No, I think she's a great candidate. Talked to her several times.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friels?
I agree with Dawn's selection. I read through her resume. It was pretty impressive.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Flores? Cesar?
I'll just repeat what your the other 2 councilmen said. Yes, very qualified individual.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Edge?
I agree, very well qualified.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion?
So moved.
Madam Mayor, we need some public comment, please.
I'm so sorry. Thank you very much, Shauna, for that. Public comment?
Yes, good evening. This is Jackie Morris Lopez. And that yes at the end when I was not muted was actually in applause for Dr. Mary Baines being selected as a co-planning commissioner. I've met her several years ago. She's a very lovely lady. So I was just cheering that selection for for Dr. Baines. Anyway, on this appointee or nomination, I guess there was no one that ran for the seat during the general election. Can you give us a brief little, maybe like 3-sentence background on the candidate that is now being appointed as our city treasurer?
Yeah, is an accountant and has been for a number of years. And she's on with her husband, I see. She's been a very active participant in for example, our water forum and paying attention to what's happening at City Hall and engaged. And so I appreciated that as well as her background. And compared to the other candidate who did not have specific financial background, accounting background as she does. She was, to me, the obvious best candidate for this job.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Now the motion, right?
Mayor, you have Miss Sabathia wants to comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see that. Ms. Bathia, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Michelle Sabathia. I just want to say thank you. I look forward to working with Dawn or whoever I'll be working with. I am an accountant and I have been so for about 4+ years, and I look forward to assisting with whatever I can. I'm super hands-on wherever possible and try to assist with anything when it comes to auditing. And then, yeah, just super excited. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second,
Shauna, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Edge,
yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
That motion passes with a 5-0 vote.
Thank you very much. Michelle, welcome. Okay, reappointment of our Urban Growth Boundary Ad Hoc Committee. Staff report. Sorry.
That's okay. I knew I'd end up speaking on this one. I didn't know what to expect at this point in the agenda as far as decisions made prior, especially concerning the Planning Commission, because we have appointed our, so the Urban Growth Boundary Ad Hoc Committee, the City Council elected 2 members that were just confirmed earlier on this agenda, with Scott Friels replacing Scott Friels coming from the Planning Commission to City Council to equal the Mary Edge and Scott Friels on that committee. Planning Commission had Scott as the chair of the commission, as well as Louise McShane. So it would make sense to me to go back to the Planning Commission and confirm that Jackie Morris Lopez would continue as a Planning Commission representative, assuming she wants to do that. And then we would be in search of a new at-large member to replace Jackie. And it's up to the council. Do we want to take applications, or I was hoping we could do this expeditiously and get this committee back online as soon as possible. So with that, I'll leave it to the council to decide what the next steps would be. But we need to go back to the commission, which would be September 2nd. And then at the same time, maybe consider an at-large citizen representative to replace Jackie if that's the will of the Planning Commission.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
I'm sorry, yes, council member comment. Go ahead.
I just wanted to encourage those that did not get on to apply. I think if I remember correctly, we asked for applications to sit on the Urban Growth Boundary Ad Hoc Committee. And so I'm encouraging those who did not get on the Planning Commission, if they're interested, to apply to get on the Ad Hoc Committee.
Thank you very much. Council member, Vice Mayor Flores.
Yes.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
No, none.
Council member Friels.
I agree with Dawn, having continue to have Jackie on the ad hoc. She's already dug in with us, and she's had some good input.
As part of the Planning Commission?
Well, yeah, she would have to come over as a planning commissioner, correct? Because right now she's the, well, up until a few minutes ago, she was the citizen at large.
Yeah, at large.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Freeman?
Well, I agree with Mary and Scott, and I think the two people who didn't get on would be great for the urban growth, and it's really important. It's not a committee it's a really important committee. So apply, Priscilla and EJ.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion for the reappointment of the Urban Growth Boundary Ad Hoc Committee members?
Wait a minute. I need a clarification.
5D, it's for keeping or for having Mary and Scott from the council, Jackie and Luis as from the Planning Commission.
Madam Mayor, have we held public comment?
Thank you very much, Sean. I know we have not. Can I get public comment, please? It's right there in my notes too. Do we have any public comment?
I have a
EJ
comment.
has his hand raised.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So a few days ago, I did speak with, I think it was actually yesterday, I did speak with Mary Edge over the phone when she had some questions about my application for Planning Commission. And one of the questions she asked me is if I would be interested in this ad hoc committee. And at the recommendation of Mary Edge and John, and at the urging of Scott, I will be, when applications open, we'll be submitting an application for this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment?
Yolanda has her hand raised.
Yolanda, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to encourage the people that didn't get qualified to continue and apply. And it took me more than once to get into where I'm at now. And you just got to keep on plugging, keep your head up. And EJ, I think you'll do great on the ad hoc committee. And the other person that was Mary Edge told to apply. So thank you again, everybody that applied for the Planning Commission. And I look forward to working with the two nominated people. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Thank you very much. Public comments closed. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Shauna, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan,
Yes.
and that motion passes with a 5-0.
Thank you very much. 5E, consideration of the adoption of a confined space policy providing safety.
Thank you. Let's see, is Trish still on board? Is she still with us? Yes, Trish is still here. Very good. This policy comes forward from our Human Resources Department. All of Trish, that's our Administrative Services Manager, brings us forward as a requirement for implementing policies and procedures for entering confined spaces. And there are specific policies related to the dangers and the permitting and the air quality testing of a confined space. The most common one that we have are sewer lines. So we cannot go into a sewer manhole right now and clear out a clog. We have to rely on telescopic poles and other things to do that. So we budgeted for the equipment and we budgeted for the training. And our maintenance team stands ready to do this with the exception of having this policy in place so that everyone understands all the different responsibilities and the process to go through this. And what this will do will make it easier and quicker for us to open up a sewer line in case of an emergency. We won't have to rely on contract service providers to do that any longer, and it'll make us much more effective in the field. So With that, Trish, is there details that you would like to add or anything you want to embellish?
No, I think that you said it all, and the compliance aspect is important with our insurance company, Parsac, as well as OSHA. And I think those were the two primary.
Right, Carlos, thank you. Okay, Mayor, that's our report.
Thank you very much. Can I get comments from the council? Councilmember Freeman?
Thank you. Frankly, I thought we would have had one by now, built into the public works. You know, anytime you go into a space that's surrounded by three sides, you're in a confined space, and there's issues with breaking the plane and all this stuff. So I'm really happy to see us catching up with the rest of the world. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels?
Yeah, I read through it. It's comprehensive. It's nice. I'm a former trench rescue confined space guy. You know, and that's sewer lines, tanks, trenches, all that kind of stuff. You know, if you think the EPA hit us hard, try getting hit by OSHA for 4 or 5 violations down in a hole. It gets ugly really fast. Just a quick question, John. You said, Don, some training stuff. Did we get our guys some? Are they going to be, you know, trained in using it like self-contained breathing apparatus and any type of respiration type stuff?
I haven't looked into it in that much detail. I know that when a firefighter actually has to get fitted for a respirator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Yeah.
a whole process that goes through for that.
Yeah, it's a fit test. And the fire department could probably do it since they're doing, you know, if they do their own. Just my concern, sewer lines, sewer gases, putting people down in, you know, without the proper, you know, airflow. I know there was a big section on the fans and stuff, and I know that's acceptable for like PG&E manholes, things like that, but I'd be concerned about sewer gases. That's my only thing. We're gonna put those guys down there.
We'll be sure and follow the letter of the law. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Well, now that we know it, right? Or now it's been put in front of us. Thank you. I appreciate this. That's, you know, it's a lot of work, and there was no reason, and I saw some, you know, very familiar writing. There was no reason to reinvent the wheel on this thing. It's pretty cut and dry what OSHA says. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Flores?
I think safety is one of the major things. I'm a former safety officer for the National Park Service, so, you know, I always looking at safety first. That keeps us going. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Edge?
Yes, a very good idea. It's very important and essential to keep our workers safe. So yes, very good.
Thank you. I also had questions on SCBA training and fall protection training, and as a safety officer, it was a very comprehensive and OSHA compliant document. But it looks like we might need a little extra stuff in there, like SCBA and fall protection. How many staff members do we have going through this?
Try and put all 5 through.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any questions from the public? Any public comment? Closing public comment. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion that we for the adoption of a confined space policy providing safety procedures for the Public Works Department and comply with the state of California requirements.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Shauna, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
And that motion passes with a 5-0 vote.
Thank you. 5F, the adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with California Municipal Advisors to prepare a feasibility and financial plan to fulfill requirements set forth by the Environmental Protection Agency, administrative order on consent in the amount of $37,630. Staff report,
Thank you, Mayor.
Manager.
The report before you recommends a uniquely qualified accounting firm who is gone through the certification and has become a certified municipal advisor. And what this means is that the state government code establishes standards where these accounting professionals actually get credentialed by the California Municipal I'm trying to get the acronym right here. Sorry. By the California Municipal Treasurers Association. So what we've done is we followed the advice of our bond counsel, Cameron Weiss, the Weiss Law Firm, and we've looked into specific requirements here under Cal Muni Advisors. The two have worked on several projects together and make a good team. This is in order to be in compliance with our EPA administrative order on consent, where we're required to demonstrate that our project is feasible and that we can financially afford them. But I think more importantly, it's good that we hire the best professionals we can find to keep our community and our citizens advised as to what impact these compliance projects may or may not have on their rates and on their costs moving forward. This is a huge endeavor we're taking on with our two compliance projects, and we're going to be borrowing money. And so it's good to know that we have the California Municipal Advisors as an independent registered municipal advisor firm representing the city and preparing those documents. So we're going to look at the best way to minimize the impact on our ratepayers and to be able to communicate with them honestly and transparently as we move through the process. So it meets the bill of the EPA requirement, but more importantly, it's going to provide good information and keep our ratepayers up to speed as we move through the process of building these two water and wastewater compliance projects. So the agreement is attached to the resolution, and asking that the council approve the resolution.
Questions, comments, concerns? Councilmember Freeman.
No, I'm just in favor of this comprehensive study and just get it done.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels.
No, I'm happy we're going to get the EPA offer back, so it's a good thing.
Vice Mayor Flores.
No, I'm happy too.
Councilmember Edge.
No comments, no questions. Just glad we're doing this.
Thank you. Me too. Public comment? Closing public comment, asking for a motion.
Madam Mayor, can I just say one thing real quick?
Yes, go ahead. Absolutely.
Sorry, I just kind of thought about that. You know, this is a subject that's been kicked down. I mean, this can has been kicked down the road so many times since like the 1980s. And I want to tell Don, I appreciate his hard work that he's getting us to the point where he inherited this mess and looks like he's cleaning it up for us. So thank you very much, Don, for the hard work, buddy.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott. Shauna, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
That motion carries with a 5-0 vote.
Thank you very much. We've already done 5G. 5H, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with EMC Planning Group for professional land use consulting, technical analysis, and design services to develop and prepare the South San Juan Area Plan, NTE, for not to exceed $210,521. City manager, staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. The report before you is not the first time the council has seen this this proposal or this project. We sought the council's approval in September 2019. The council adopted Resolution 44, 2019-44, and approved submitting a $160,000 grant to California Housing and Community Development. EMC helped prepare our housing element and was working for us at the time and prepared the grant application. The criteria for the grant application are these 6 issues: to rezone property, to allow them to develop by rights rather than a discretionary permit, to create an objective design and development standards, to create specific plans or form-based codes with secret streamlining, to focus on accessory dwelling units or other low-cost housing strategies, expedite permit processing, or to build housing-related infrastructure, financing, and fee reduction strategies. We have met a number of these items. We rezoned property when we adopted the housing element to provide higher density housing at 70 Muckalemme. Our development standards are in good shape, and we refer to them often. Accessory dwelling units and other low-cost housing strategies, including our inclusionary housing, is being addressed by a different grant from Housing and Community Development, the LEAP grant, the local agency planning grant I described before. Our expedited processing is in place. We do a pretty good job processing our permits efficiently and effectively. And for now, the infrastructure is being addressed by our water and wastewater compliance projects. So we looked at this specific plan, the idea of an urban planning project in a broad piece of real estate on or around the city of San Juan Bautista. And there's a lot of history that goes into the selection of this project. This is a year 2000 specific plan done by RBF, not scrap the D, that's a typo. RBF did this plan in 2020 and they came up with 4 development alternatives. So this is, if you look at Highway 156 in the red and white across the top, it shows San Juan Hollister Road paralleling it towards Hollister, and then it proposes development for the rest of these parcels, and it excludes the vacant lot on the left, which was known as the Brigantino property, was most recently bought by the Health Foundation, and that property, when these alternatives were done back in 2000, was subject to the Williamson Act, so it didn't have any pre-zoning or any predisposition. And this is a result, this 2000 process, of what we refer to as a design charrette, where the community worked hard. And I know many community members are still around that remember this process. They went to weekly and monthly meetings to best decide how the property should be used and what the streets would look like. What this plan does is wants to pick up that 2000 study and focus it on a specific area. And that specific area is described as partly, some of it's a low density residential, medium density residential, or 62.7 acres of undesignated. So it's a pretty good piece of property that the study includes. It would all be in consideration of annexation at some point in time. It doesn't have to be soon, but at least if a property owner came to us and asked us about annexation, we would have a plan in place for them and a description of how we would move forward. So these are the 3 parcels. It was called the South San Juan Planning Area back in 2000. I refer to it as the Alameda Corridor because it picks up at San Juan Hollister Road and starts to head towards the De Anza Trail. And we'll do a good job of designing. At one point I know we've collected funds to build a roundabout at San Juan Hollister and the Alameda. So revisit those types of public improvements and what the property owners may contribute to get those types of things built And that's the nature of the project, is to study this area in a community-based process with community input. So we would gather the community to discuss and verify and follow up on these prior efforts. And we would introduce a concept in this plan referred to as blue zones. And if I can do this right, I should be able to go there and click, and it should load. Blue zones is a different lens. And I beg your pardon for a minute here while I bring up this quick YouTube. It's just going to describe what a blue zone is. Hopefully the volume is high enough that everyone can hear it. A blue zone is something brought forth by a fellow named Dan Burden, who became famous for his complete streets and his walkable communities. And the Health Foundation is very interested in blue zones.
Is that link going to come up?
You able to hear it?
The YouTube link, were you going to bring that up?
Hear anything or see anything?
No, just your,
Just the slide.
does the slide SB2 grant?
Can't see it? Oh,
You got to hit that link. No?
okay. I'm sorry if you can't see that.
Oh, well, next time.
I'm sorry if you couldn't see that. That's the first time I've tried that. Okay, so back over here we go. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. I was trying to describe blue zones to you. Basically, there were studies that came out in 2010 or so about people estimating their age by the zip code they lived in. And a blue zone asks why and talks about nutrition and access to the right food and the right air quality and the right drinking water. And so part of our plan with the EMC grant is to go forward with a blue zone study that would evolve into a blue zone study of the entire city. So it would evolve into eventually a general plan health element. So this is the health policies practice, and this is the city's opportunity to start that practice on a citywide level using the grant itself as a way to do that. So I'm happy to answer questions about that specific element of it, and I'll get everyone the link as soon as I can. I'm sorry, I just shared the wrong PowerPoint. Okay, very good. So with that, we hope to help property owners understand the community's intentions. The Community Foundation is willing to help pay for that part of that blue zone study, so we appreciate that. We're also talking to Audubon Ranch, who's the property owners to the south of the Alameda, and then creating these partnerships, we'll be able to work together with property owners and get a community vision for the Alameda corridor. So the timing with the UGB ad hoc committee and sphere of influence work is important. We want to have the sphere of influence locked down before this study is done, but this study doesn't need to be completed by Housing and Community Development until later in 2023. And I think we can easily move our ad hoc committee forward and get our sphere of influence determined and to LAFCO in plenty of time for that to happen. So I'm going to work to make sure that this grant works in harmony with our steering committee and that they inform each other along the process. So with that, I just wanted to bring the EMC grant and work proposal to you. And if the council will approve the resolution that's attached, we could get started on this work later this spring. And their complete proposal is also attached to the agenda if you have any questions about it. So with that, Mayor, I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Freeman?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. I'm kind of disappointed and trying to understand it all. On page 95, it says that the goal is to increase housing potential in the area. And, you know, I always thought that the south side of 156 should be more of a commercial and industrial area. It kind of halfway is already. The previous owner of the property was chased off by a previous city manager. They were going to have a yoga retreat center, which is commercial. And I thought that was just the greatest thing in the world. And I was hoping maybe the foundation, Health Foundation, could be coached or talked into something like that instead of just a bunch of houses out there. A nice retreat, a spa, health spa, fitness center, wellness center, whatever you want to call it, yoga center. It would be fantastic. And then some other light commercial on the other side of the Alameda corridor, or whatever you want to call it. You know, it gets back to the theory, and no one, especially not anybody from EMC has proven me wrong yet, that residential only pays about 70 cents on the dollar for the services it uses, only pays 70 cents in taxes. Commercial and industrial pays over $1. So, you know, if the residents of San Juan would like some nice things like parks and recreation and extended library hours and decent streets, the way you do that is you encourage the commercial and industrial, which pay better than even on taxes. And I just want to encourage that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I'm kind of concerned about the blue zone stuff and meeting our planning guidelines in San Juan, the work that we put in years and years ago to make sure our community looked the way it does now. But that being said, I haven't had a chance to really study this blue zone stuff. I'm also concerned, the blue zone seemed like it has to do with a lot with health issues. Was there some type of study done in San Juan saying that we're in poor health? And, you know, I'm kind of concerned about that. If we look at this map, so all the green spot is currently in the county. I know that square in the middle, most of that is, I believe, the Ottoboni Ranch. I think, Don, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're proposing to be, they for some reason have the idea that they're going to put 100 homes in there because of an approval of a map from the early 1900s, and I still question whether it's valid. I don't think we had the Subdivision Map Act back then. I'd like to know when that came through so we can check, and I really like to get a legal opinion on that. I mean, I don't know how they can do that, but so close to our city limits, so that would be an impact. I can kind of see bringing them into the fold, but that's another 100 homes, and folks in town don't, you know, the grand majority of this town doesn't want another 100 homes. Nothing against the folks who just moved into town, because I've met some very wonderful ones. But it just, that concerns me. And I think this bringing in this planning group that, I don't mean EMC, but this blue zone folks, I don't think they know anything about San Juan, and I'm just concerned that, you know, I don't want it to look like Mesa, Arizona, or any city in Southern California. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Vice Mayor Flores?
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
Council Member Edge?
I just have a quick question. Don, what would happen if we didn't follow through with this, with those properties? What would happen with those properties? The Audubon property and then the property that the health department has acquired? Would the homes still come in?
I think the county has been very open to the city's feedback. And if the city council sent a letter rejecting an environmental impact report or rejecting development of houses there due to specific findings, traffic impacts or what have you, that I think the county would respect that. And then of course, extending our services, we do have water in that area. We do not have sewer past San Juan Hollister Road. So extending our sewer line that distance to Mission Vineyard, we would have some leverage to prevent those properties from being developed.
Thank you.
And you said something about not having enough sewer. That could be built into the developer fees, correct? I mean, that we would make that their responsibility.
Yes. Yes, that would be pretty simple. And that's what the attempt was with the Copperleaf and Rancho Vista, was a water fee, strictly to improve the city's water and develop well 6 and well 5 so that there was sufficient water for the system.
Thank you. And I have been on several presentations a while back, albeit, on blue zones, and they're quite interesting. The Peninsula was talking about them a while ago. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say about here. Public comment?
I don't know how the format is in terms of public comment, but I'd like to make a comment.
Hi, Rosa Vivian.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we're one of the property owners and we're one of the people that are very interested in blue zones. And blue zones is nothing more than a healthy living community where you provide housing and a living environment that is conducive to a healthy lifestyle. Our intent was to have housing for our employees who are having a great deal of difficulty finding housing in our county. So we were looking at a concept similar to a university setting where you have housing for faculty, you have housing for students, you have housing for employees. And the other property that we have, we were going to propose a teaching health center where we can bring people from many different disciplines in healthcare. And when we bring them in, it's difficult to bring people that don't have housing. So looking at a stage housing community where you would have people that are coming in just to do their practicum, but we also would have housing for our employees. And this project will also include solar power and looking at how we can have concepts that would reduce the use of water and also include communications such as broadband.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have a question for, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rosa Vivian Fernandez. I'm the CEO of San Benito Health Foundation.
Okay, thank you. Is this, are you looking towards a gated community?
It's more, it would have an environment where you, not necessarily a gated community, but it would have an environment similar that you would have people that come in for learning experiences, but it would be for our employees primarily.
Okay, so that's yes or no? I mean, are you planning
No,
on?
it's not a gated. community. And we're exploring different options, but it would be similar like UC Santa Cruz that has opportunities for different levels of employees to make sure that people are not left out. We have employees that are living in housing conditions where they have multiple generations living in a house and multiple families living in households because they cannot find a place to live. They cannot find affordable housing. So we're looking at trying to solve that very difficult situation that we find ourselves in which people then travel long distances in order to find housing. And we would like to, also assist the environment by having people live closer to where they work.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to follow up on that.
Go ahead.
I think workforce housing is a great idea, and affordable housing is something that's needed in this county and in this city. I still prefer a little bit more on the commercial side because of the income potential to the city. But I am very supportive of because what you're describing is workforce housing. So
yes,
I'm supportive of that. I didn't mean to get all, I didn't want to force you into a yoga center.
But could you put one?
Yeah.
Please.
And maybe mixed use is a good, concept for that.
Jackie has her hand raised, as well as David Madero. So I think Jackie was first.
Jackie, go ahead.
I've spoken already. I'll let Mr. Maderas go first. I'll defer to him first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm looking at this whole thing. My name is David Maderas. I'm from 1026 First Street, in case everybody's wondering who's talking right now. Anyway, I just like to think that why are we just looking at the south side? What about the east side and the north side and the west side? And looking at all those areas, how maybe the south side would look a little bit differently if we were to encompass what circles the city itself. That's basically what I'm thinking about right now. Why are we going in that direction? I do like what's going on with what's been shared today. Any work towards what we need to do in order to grow as a small community. Any work in that effort is great for San Juan, so I'm forward for that. But maybe a balanced approach that encompasses the city in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more?
Yes, Mayor, we have Jackie Morris Lopez and Dan DeVries.
Jackie, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I have a few questions and a few comments. I'll try to keep it within the 3 minute.
3 minutes. Thanks.
So my first comment is, I understand that Don, the manager, had Mr. Reynolds had said that this is perfect timing with the ad hoc committee, but I just want to remind him that we have not met for 2 months, and now we're having some changes of membership. So I think that we, at best, I think we need to maybe stall a decision tonight on going ahead with this resolution to award the monies to EMC. There's a lot of loose ends, with COVID and the holidays and not having a meeting for over 60 days. I, as a community member at large, I'm officially have not been sworn in as a planning commissioner, and I only speak, I don't know that anyone else besides myself is aware of what's going on here tonight. I think we need to open it up for more public input. I really think we need to wait till we have the new members on the Urban Growth Committee to speak to this. I also feel that we're talking about a plan that was proposed and drafted back 20 years ago. You said 2000. So a lot has changed. Community members have gone and left. So I really think that we need to have public input. And I also have questions about Blue Zone. I'm probably going to have to do some research on that. I know that it's a new coin term, like green belts. If you're not in the planning circles, you're not really familiar with the lingo. So I think that we owe it to our public and also some of the council members and whoever is on this meeting to understand what that entails. I understand the stakeholders are well aware of what it entails. Ms. Fernandez, Vivian had spoke to that, but I really think we need a better understanding of that. And I'm all for affordable housing, but my last question is, what will the Health Foundation bring to us? This seems like a project for workers, for their workers to have affordable housing. I see that my community members here need more affordable housing as a whole. So, and I'm also wanting to know how this is going to impact our open space there. You know, if you're a property owner, you are also held to a higher standard of what you're going to propose, how it affects your community, how it affects the environment. There's a lot of questions I have, and I hope that you can defer to making a decision on this before we have all the players and the public involved to state their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I'll start with a couple of quotes from the EMC proposal. The first is this. They state the goal of the San Juan area plan is to reconfigure land uses to increase housing potential. And they identify the types of homes that would be added. And if you total those up, those are 235 homes on the other side of the highway. In the scope of the EMC work, they say that it includes, quote, revise the general plan as needed to accommodate new growth boundaries and ensure consideration between the new area plan and the general plan. And in fact, they say it'll be foundational for LAFCO annexation. So if we're talking about 235 homes on the other side of the highway, potential annexation and reconfiguring land uses to accommodate increased housing, I can virtually guarantee this council, the public does not support any of that. And I question how the public was made to participate in this process. Agreeing to this agenda item seems innocuous, but it's not. Because if you authorize the city manager to sign this EMC proposal, you'll be off and running to start planning for these things, 235 homes, and what they identify as the San Juan Plan area, which goes all the way to the mouth of the canyon. John, the city manager, recited something about this being built upon the shoulders of RBF's work done many years ago. I worked with RBF back in those days. And the reason why that RBF plan didn't go anywhere for 20 years is because it was not popular. Nobody wanted to see the other side of the highway develop to that extent. The grant writing that was done, I participated in that as well as a council member, and I had no idea that this grant would be applied to develop the other side of the highway to the maximum extent as being now proposed. So I think there's a lot of reasons to pause and get community participation. I don't know that the Planning Commission has done a heavy lift on this or looked at it at all, but this decision to develop the other side of the highway to the extent that is being proposed is absolutely monumental for this town. It'll change the character and the nature of this small town forever. And I think we all need to be seriously minded about or mindful of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I believe Vanda might have a comment. Hold on just a second. Yep, she's got her thumbs up. Vanda, did you want to speak?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I've had difficulties with my audio. Anyway, I agree with Dan on that. That portion of the city is very historic and archaeologically sensitive, and I don't think the community really wants to develop to the extent that it's being proposed. So I hope you'll encourage public input on that, and I thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
I don't see anything else, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Can I ask for a motion?
If I could, a couple more things, please.
Go ahead.
This seems like an awful lot to digest. I cannot make a good, informed, educated decision on this right now. And I would like to I'd like to study it some more and see it again, spend some time with the city manager and learn his vision a little more, and then learn a little bit more about what the Health Foundation really wants to put in there, and if there will be an impact to our community. I propose we revisit this at the next meeting and get a chance to look at it a little bit deeper. We've only had a weekend. Thank you.
Is that your motion?
Mute it, Scott.
You're muted.
I'm reading lips.
I got it. Yeah. No, okay. I move that we move this to the next meeting. So that way we can get together with the city manager, find out from the Health Foundation exactly what they want to do. It's a pretty good chunk of property that they purchased. And let's see if that piece of ag land, prime ag land, really can be developed into 100 homes. Let's get some legal opinion on that also. So that's my motion.
And I will second it.
Thank you very much. Can I get a roll call, Shauna?
Oh, it's too late, huh? Okay.
Yes. Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
No.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
and Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
That motion carries with a 4-1 vote. Vice Mayor Flores voting no.
And this is to hold this over until
To your next meeting.
next month. Thank you very much.
I would also suggest that we run it by the planning commission too. So they have a big part in this.
Thank you.
It doesn't need a motion, but just.
On to discussion items, review recommendation on city staff reorganization. Don?
Last time we brought up reorganizing the city, it was recommended, and I concur, that we consider this at every meeting for a while, and that we give the community plenty of chance to participate in how to best organize the city. So I went back over the holidays and I reviewed the Citygate report. It came in 2 sections. The first section was a financial analysis. The second part was a organizational structure analysis. And they came up with recommendations to improve our financial systems, our purchasing processes, et cetera. And also proposals to effectively work through both current and long-range planning efforts to rebuild our planning department. So the interim city manager's recommendation upon my arrival, and the city council agreed at the time in July 1st, 2019, was to hire either a community development expert or a public works expert to support the city manager in his work. There's also a need to fulfill the Citygate's requirements, recommendations, to refill the office technician and accounts payable position, so that we have consistency in that position and we have the ability to conduct special accounting projects. So rebuilding the community development department, I believe I'm recommending tonight that we consider a planning director with a historic preservation experience, and that someone that can back up the city manager and help run the city. When I last presented, it was clear that the city council wanted me to have some help running the city, and I really appreciate that. And so this is a proposal based on these foregone conclusions that preceded me, that we move forward in that direction. So in terms of reorganization, I do recommend maintaining our COVID team. I call it our community services, PIO, our community liaison, and our public safety officer. But more recently, as the council is aware, we have lost both of our part-time project managers. Carl Bajarki has accepted the appointment to Gilroy's interim public works director, And Marty Brown has accepted the job up in the Berkeley area, being the executive director of the special district. So Marty was managing a lot of the planning projects that we had going forward. And so now we have executed agreements with the State Housing Community Development to run forward with these agreements, and really need some staff to help support that. So we are starting several new initiatives. One of them just got off to a slower start. That's fine. It's all about building consensus. But that project, that area plan is also partnered with the grant program that's going to pay for building or designing a trail system in our city, and our ADUs and our inclusionary housing. All that's coming together as new initiatives to help improve and streamline our community development. So in general, if we can begin building a more sustainable, resilient organization by strengthening the management team without reducing services. So we've heard a pretty good report on the stability of our income moving forward. This is an org chart that I've redone with community development on the left, just to give you an idea of how much community development we could be doing. Code enforcement and economic development are under a assistant city manager, planning director. And so this is the planning department, community development in focus. It talks about building permits, which is a contract service provided by Four Leaf, private property inspections. And then we have current planning. David Mack is serving that role for us, as well as serving on the urban growth boundary ad hoc committee. Code enforcement generally falls within the current planning in an organization. Advanced planning includes the urban growth boundary, general plan updates, new general plan elements, including a health element and an economic development element. And then of course, regional planning with AMBAG and COG and looking at the region as a whole. That's the advanced planning. And we don't have a lot of strength in that area right now. Economic development and housing is something that we've talked about. Our community liaison is doing a lot for us in regards to business retention. She has worked with businesses interested in relocating, such as the restaurant that opened over the holidays. Tourism and special event planning is something we don't do a lot of. We rely on others. I apologize for the typo. We have a lot of requirements coming from the state housing community development on reporting of housing. We're gonna have to update our housing element again this year as we get our new regional projections. So that's a whole nother undertaking. That'll be our third housing element to update in less 3 years. And we'll have to work with population growth projections and regional planning in that regard. Historic preservation is something I think the council will agree we could do a better job and stay out in front of if we had the staff and the time. So I'm emphasizing that in the chart. Current planning and building design changes of our existing inventory, the 3rd Street guidelines, parklets, mission and state historic properties coordination. Typically, we bring the audit, bring a mid-year budget adjustment. So I'll be looking at a mid-year budget adjustment in February, and I'm asking the council if they would consider assistant city manager, planning director, and reopening the office technician position. So with that, I'm here to receive your feedback on this kind of proposal. And if you wanted to tweak it or change it or kick his butt out the door, I don't care. I just appreciate your feedback on my latest and greatest organizational ideas. Mayor?
Thank you for that presentation. Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. I've always been in favor of having a planning director and a planning department, and by way of just consolidation, also having that person be an assistant city manager. I think it's a natural fit. So I'm really in favor of that, and I think the sooner we get going on that, the more we can get done in the city, and we do have some catching up to do. So I think it's overall, I think it's going in the right direction, and it's got my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels.
Yeah, I have to agree with John. I like the fact that you're combining the the two people and the fact that you want to bring on a assistant city manager, it's important. I say, Don, we've seen what you've gone through this whole COVID thing, and I know it's taken a toll on you. So, you know, you do need some help and delegate. And then as far as I didn't know we lost those two folks. Unfortunately, I thought those are a couple good acquisitions. And I don't really, I like the way it looks. It's a nice, clean org chart. I like the fact that we want to try to get the mission and the state parks back into the thing and get somebody to run that, because I mean, our state park looks terrible. But that's it. Thank you. It looks good.
Vice Mayor Flores?
I just want to thank city manager for all the work he did on that. And I mean, he's there with all this, you know, on his plate, and he's definitely, the council has, you know, we're worried about him being overloaded, and I think this is a great solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Edge?
Well, this looks a lot better than the last one you submitted, Don.
Oh, thank you. Leslie helped. The mayor helped.
That's great. Good. Yeah, no, I think we need to move forward. I'm just, the only thing that concerns me is money. That's the only thing the concern that I have.
Me too. This has a little more depth than the flatness of before. And yeah, having somebody underneath you, I think is good. It lets you do what you do best. Yeah, great, thanks. Do we have any public comment? Cesar, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, I have a question. And
Yeah, go ahead.
My question was, do we put this on the agenda for the next meeting, or, because it's not an action item, right?
No, it's just discussion.
Yeah.
Discussion. Well, could we put it as an item on the next, you know? On the
Yes, that's my goal, is to bring forward a mid-year budgeted amendment that will give you the fiscal analysis of whether or not we can add positions and what that would cost.
Okay, thank you.
We have a hand raised, David Banderos and
David,
Jackie
go
Morris Lopez.
David, go
Yes.
ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Yes. I just wondered, in the column where you have in your organization chart, you have historic preservation. I'm just thinking, is there some way we could put another item in there when it deals with land use? In other words, we have an historical site. The land that we develop around it, it recalls whatever we put in there, that we have a historical site that we have to preserve. And how do we preserve that history into how we build our land, develop our land? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jackie, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Me. Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I had a question about the assistant city manager, planning director. How many hours a week would that position entail? And I guess, do you have a current planning director at this time, or someone that we could consider perhaps promoting or opening up, I guess, generally to the public? But I'm just curious about the amount of time. And then also looking at the org chart, just because I'm going to be now sitting on the planning commission, it seems like it's sort of floating by itself. It's right above the column where it comes above community development. Are we an entity by ourselves, or how do we fit in with the other columns that are near it? Thank you.
Vanda, I believe, has her hand raised, or she wants to make comment.
Thank you, Vanda. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you
Oh,
for
I'm
that,
sorry.
but I was just asking a general question. I didn't really have a comment. Thank you. Carry on.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments?
I don't see anything else.
Thank you very much. Public comments closed. So we're gonna ask staff then to bring it back at the next meeting with I guess wow, I'm at a loss for words.
I can help you, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Thank you. No, please go.
I hope to come back. We do have a job description that was approved some time ago for
That's the
Community
word I'm
Development
looking
Director.
for.
And so we'll bring back a job description. As far as number of hours, of course, that depends on what we can afford, because we may have to pay 10% less than I make, for example, would be close to $58 an hour. So it was budgeted previously at $50 an hour, and I had a hard time filling that one. So so we need to have a competitive price in there, which maybe we can find a retired person or someone of that nature, but I have to find something that's recruitable as well. So yeah, no, we'll have a full analysis for you as part of the mid-year budget review.
Thank you very much. 6B, Urban Growth Boundaries, Sphere of Influence Ad Hoc Committee status.
So I had written an extensive email, as I mentioned earlier, to the Planning Commission and City Council. I had sent out the maps that the Urban Growth Boundary Committee had agreed to. Each of the 5 members had a slightly different approach, especially in that sensitive area south of the city. We had 2 members who did not want to include any properties south of San Juan Hollister Road, and the other 3 that were more leaning towards the okay on that. So I need to get the letters describing the ad hoc committee's work out to the property owners around the city. And so that's my goal this week. This is a combined map to refresh people's memory. So we haven't met for a few months, but I'm trying to keep it on the front burner as much as I can with the updates and emails, and by just having this quick update for the council tonight. I think we've talked quite a bit about the Urban Growth Boundary Ad Hoc Committee and the work that it does. So I won't spend any more time on it here unless the council wants me to follow up on specific issues or have specific questions. This is a placeholder for agendas.
Is it possible to overlay your last presentation on that with the Health Foundation and the ranch?
Yeah, so lot 3 is the property the Health Foundation just bought.
Wow.
And then 13 is Audubon Ranch.
Okay.
And others going across here say, nope, we don't want to go south there.
Well, the Health Foundation just bought this whole property.
Can we mute? Thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Don.
So yes, that's how they fit into this map. There are lots 3, 7, and 13.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Freeman, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Not right now. I just hopefully that Don will get the right guy in planning and assistant city manager. I'm sure he can come up with somebody.
Councilmember Rails, do you have any comments on the Urban Growth Boundary or the Sphere of Influence Committee?
Yeah, just a real quick reminder, the purplish colors, those are adjacent properties to the city limits. And we kind of asked for that so that way you can see where each lot starts and stops. You can tell, not every one of them is a perfect square. So the big concern was we didn't want to run the Urban Growth Boundary and the Sphere of Influence like for example, right through the middle of lot 3, which is right there above the cement plant, it wouldn't make much sense. So we wanted some guidelines to follow. And then if you go to the far left, number 46, that's the Nyland Ranch. And I don't know if Dawn has any new updates on it, but it sounds like it may have been purchased by a land trust. Fingers
Yes,
crossed.
as far as I know. Yes, it was on their agenda. It was on the estate's agenda in December. And I think Cara or one of our community, no, it's actually
It's Emily.
Emily is on that committee, right? I believe that is moving forward.
And that's a huge piece of property that's going to be Hereford cattle and deer forever and ever. So that's huge. And that's pretty much that's all I have to say. I mean, we've really been working our butts off on this thing, and I would love to get it wrapped up. So I was talking to Don about this today. Our butts are kind of hanging in the wind because we don't have a sphere of influence, and we really need it. So I know we'll get moving here soon. So thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Flores,
No comments. Good job, Don.
Councilmember Edge,
I don't have anything to say right now.
thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
I don't see anything, Madam
Thank you
Mayor.
very much. I'm closing public comment. Direction to staff. Where do we go from here, Don? Get a committee together,
Oh, no, we got one. Yeah, get our committee together.
finalize our committee?
Get that ad hoc, get the citizen at large recruitment going and get it filled.
Okay, 6C, update on water and wastewater distribution system enhancements and compliance with the Environmental Protection Agency.
Thank you. As requested, we'll have water on every agenda. The city is in compliance with the EPA orders. We had met just last Wednesday with them. They're pleased with the schedule that we're setting forward and of the progress we're making. So that's really good news. And it gives me more time to make progress instead of reporting. So I just need time to focus and we're going to get there. We're preparing to negotiate with the state regarding past violations. We'll bring more to the council in that regard. That's still hanging out there. The city will present its compliance project for the wastewater project to the city of Hollister February 1st. We sent a letter to them the first week in January, and they gladly accepted our request to come and present to them. It's of course critical for the city of Hollister to receive our wastewater to make this work. Today, this week, we received 2 proposals to design the sewer line to Hollister, so that's really good. A couple familiar names, so we have a couple well-qualified design teams to help us with right-of-way acquisition to get that project started. And we have a meeting with the Water District today, or this week, about its MOU. So the 3 pieces, with the approval of the financial advisors tonight, are all in place. And I created this summary, which may be a little busy to see, but basically we have 3 projects. We have our fiscal strategy, our importing better source water, and exporting our domestic water. The MOU will, for each of the domestic wastewater and the source water, they both have a first step in them that has a feasibility study of its own. So the Water District needs to agree that the project is feasible before we can begin to design in great detail the water line coming from the West Hills Water Plant. And I propose the same to Hollister, where we would have a feasibility study in an MOU that would be a deal breaker for us. And so I shared this with the EPA, and it's just I finally got my head wrapped around all these moving parts. and I actually like this stuff. And so you can see how the two projects will move forward. The goal is to get through this MOU quickly and to get into a formal long-term agreement. So we would have maybe a 10-year agreement, such as the Hollister Urban Area Agreement with the West Hills Water Plant, that defines how much water we will need within that time frame and what the cost will be. So that's the goal. We'll have plenty of opportunities to come back to the council at each step of the way and keep the council and others updated. So this is the summary of where we are and moving forward in 2021. And then I'm happy to answer questions about water.
I have a question.
Sorry, I'm the one who's muted. Councilman Freeman, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Right now, I think we're making really good progress, and I'm pleased with it. And I think it'll go good with the city of Hollister. So I'm feeling positive.
Thank you. Councilmember Friels?
I just want to thank Don for moving this thing along so quickly. I mean, we went from 0 to 100 in a short period of time. It's been great, and I get to tell you, I've been drinking this water for 55 years, and I'm so looking forward to drinking water out of the tap. You know, so thank you, Don.
Vice Mayor Flores?
I have a question, Don. Is the agreement going to be with the city of Hollister or with I thought the plant over there was under county, was part of the county makeup, or not the city?
No, they went into a moratorium, and the court ordered they create a water treatment plant, and they built it over and beyond their capacity. So it's often referred to as a regional plant, but they own and operate it. Hollister owns and operates it.
No, but who owns it? Hollister? City Hollister? Okay. Thank you. Just a clarification. Good job.
Councilmember Edge?
I don't have anything to say, just that I can hardly wait until we get this all done. And thank you for your hard work, Don.
Thank you very much. Public comment?
I don't see any hands, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Closing public comments. I guess there's really nothing we need to ask for direction of the staff. Just keep plugging along. You're doing great. You're doing great. Holy moly. Okay. D, traffic management on First Street and Lavanino Drive during the construction of the roundabout at Rancho Vista. City manager, take it away.
Button that says share screen. I'm talking with our senior Julie, who is more than 6 feet apart from me. Julie's going to bring up a few slides. So we are at last, we have approved the design of the roundabout and it's ready for construction. We are working through a letter with the adjacent property owners. We had a very productive meeting, and I have to write that letter. That's 2 letters I have to write this week, one for urban growth and one for the Loezas who live to the southeast of the property. So with their dedication going forward, or with a construction easement, we can begin to develop. The Meritage is very anxious to get this built. This is the last phase of their project. So with that, I'll let Julie go forward and she can present her slides.
Oh, you want to? Good evening, Madam. No? I'm going to wait till Don.
I'm muted.
not sure what the,
You might be too close to each other.
okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, Julie Bessat, City Engineer. As Dawn mentioned, we are gonna, this is just, this item in front of you is for discussion. And what we're gonna talk about tonight is the First Street proposed roundabout, which you see a slide in front of you. This is, that was a copy from the plans that we signed and approved. Moving forward. Okay, now I can move. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Okay. As most of us know, that the construction of the roundabout at First Street and Lavanino is one of the conditions of approval for Rancho Vista subdivision. And to be specific, they were conditioned to improve, of course, all the streets within the subdivision, and then construct a roundabout at First and Lavanino. I have to practice that so many times. It took me a while to pronounce that. And of course, having the, after the roundabout is constructed, it'll be landscape, and we would have new striping on First Street. We would have traffic signage. And in addition, they are conditioned to overlay First Street going up north to the where the city limit is, which is roughly about 480 feet. Here's an aerial photo of the area, and where I have the circle. This is, I'm sure as you notice that this is an older aerial photo, because the subdivision here is just, I think it just started it, and now it's almost complete. This is the location of where the roundabout is going to go, and this is Lavanino, thank you, and First Street. And this, let me see, yeah, this is, okay. So moving on to the next slide. Staff has been working with the applicant, who is Meritage, for almost over a year. Unfortunately, it's taking longer than what we anticipated due to acquiring the right-of-way, getting Meritage to come up and agree with us on the concept design. And right now, we're pleased to announce that within the last couple months, we were able to have multiple meetings with them, and the city has reviewed their plans and it's been approved. So the plans have already been signed and it's ready for construction. Based on the last conversation that we had with the applicant, they're hoping that they could go ahead and start the project on February 1st. But of course, the city has not accepted that schedule yet, because we want to have a conversation about community outreach, notifying residents, letting them know that this project is coming up. We are not going to go ahead and get the applicant to start the project without going through that process. Sorry. When we were looking at the concept design and looking at the construction phase, we realized that we run into two options. One option was that we could allow the contractor to close First Street at the intersection of Lavanino and First Street, or we would require them to have a minimum of 1 lane of traffic open at all times. Those were the two options that we were looking at. And for the following slides, I will go through these two options. You will see them, a couple times. That we will talk about what the options are, and then we will go over what the impacts of each option will be. Option A, as I briefly stated, that it was one of the options during the construction was that we could close First Street to all traffic. That way the contractor have the entire area by themselves. They will not have to deal with any traffic, and the road will be closed roughly about 10 to 12 weeks. And as I just mentioned, that all the traffic that since that area is closed, there's no traffic can go through, and then the local traffic and the through traffic have to go through the detour around the site. Option B was that we would have one lane open at all time. And that means that during the day, the contractor would have 2 flagger persons, one on each end, letting traffic go through one lane that is open. And during the non-working hours, we could ask them, we had that discussion that we could ask them, if they are working in an area that they could have 2 lanes open at night, we would prefer to have 2 lanes open at night after construction, or they would have some sort of a temporary traffic signal that they would allow traffic to go through with having just 1 lane open. Now we're going to look at the impact of each option. With option 1, having the first street closed, of course, the contractor is going to have the site by himself, so they would have, this option will shorten the construction duration, and it will take about 10 to 12 weeks. And but it also create a lengthy detour, and the stakeholders around the area that are going to get affected, of course, it's the highest school that is located in the northern part of the city, the neighbors and a couple of the subdivision around the project, and the emergency services. The city has reached out to the school district. I had several conversations with the school district. We met at the site and we looked at where the bus route is and where most of the students are living that need to be picked up. The school mentioned that they do have a few students who live in that area, so it's going to cause, some inconvenience for them. They could live with it if they have to, but of course they would prefer to have 1 lane of traffic open at all time. We have sent out notices to the neighbors and all the residents around that area, and I could say that majority of the responses that we received, they're all asking for having 1 lane of traffic open at all time. And we reached out to sheriff's office, we reached out to the fire department and other emergency services, and collectively they all would prefer to have the 1 lane open at all time. Here is the, I apologize, this is a traffic, this is the route that for the detour route. If we close First Street, it's a little bit crowded, but I'll try to just quickly go through it and not to get into too much detail. Here where the site is supposed to be, this is where the roundabout is supposed to be. This is just to give you some idea. This is Prescott Road, here's First Street, and this is Highway 156. So if we close this section of the road, that means that with traffic coming south, they would see the detour plan right before they get to Prescott. Then they need to make a left turn and go all the way around, go to San Justo Road, and then come back down and then go to 156 in order to get to the city, which is almost about 5 miles, almost about 5 miles. And then if there's any traffic coming from south going up north, once they get to this area here, they see all the, the traffic signal signs that's saying that the road is going to be closed ahead, detour ahead. And once they get to this location, they could go ahead and go left on Monterey, and that would take them down to Highway 156. If they are living within this neighborhood and they start going up north, they see the sign again, detour, they could still make a left turn over at Ahwahnee, and then that would take him again to Monterey and then go on 156. This is the detour route if we choose to move forward with closing this section of First Street. Now let's look at option B. Option B is when we have 1 lane of traffic open at all time. Of course, with having 1 lane open, the construction, the contractor has to kind of phased out his project based on having one lane open at, at each time, that's going to lengthen the construction duration, but we're looking at only about additional 4 weeks. Now, instead of the 10 to 12 weeks, we're looking at 14 to 16 weeks. And of course, the other impact of having the one lane open is that we would have flagger on each end. So there will be some short-term delay for traffic that are going through. So those are the two impacts if we go with option B. This is the traffic control plan for option B. It's fairly simple. We would have all the signs going up north before you get to the site, letting you know that there's going to be one lane, close in front, or it would be one lane road ahead. The same with the traffic going south. They would be warned. It would be plenty of advance warning, letting them know that there will be one lane road ahead. And fairly simple. It's just that once they get to this area, what my experience has been that most of the residents, or if they don't have to go through this area with any construction site, they would try to avoid that area as much as they can. So hopefully there's not going to be that much delay of travelers that are going through that area. Here's our last slide that I just summarized what we just covered throughout the presentation. Looking at option 1, the item in front of you is there are 2 options available. Option 1, full road closure. The construction will take about 10 to 12 weeks, and it will have impact on the high school emergency service and the neighbors based on the input that we received from them. Option B, one lane open at all time. Now we're looking at about 14 to 16 weeks of construction and short-term delay to all the traffic going through. That concludes my PowerPoint presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer any question you may have.
Thank you very much. Councilman Freeman?
I really don't have any questions. Very thorough presentation. Thank you, Julie. I really appreciate it.
I can't hear it. Oh, sorry.
I vote for option B right off the bat. I just think we need to keep one lane open. I do think the advantage is that there really will not be quite as much traffic as normal. I'm considering normal like a year ago or a year and a half ago, because the stay at home and the COVID has drastically cut down the traffic on First Street and 129. And so, but even in spite of that fact, I still vote for option B because I just think we need access out that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Friels?
I agree with Councilman Freeman. I think B is the option. If you look at option A, also another thing, one of the stakeholders we forgot about is the local farmers and ranchers that have property right on the other side of town. A couple of the farmers would have to load up tractors and drive them around on the freeway, and a couple of the cattle ranchers would have to go all the way around. And I know one of our cattle ranchers sent an email into us saying that time is money a lot of times for them. So that's a concern. So, and as a former firefighter, last thing I want to do is drive another 15 minutes out of the way to get to somebody. So I would option B would be my pick. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Flores?
Yeah, I go for option B as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Edge?
You're muted, Mary.
Sorry. I'm just curious, did you consider, and I realize though, you'd have to stay on 101 and then get off on 156 and then come in on Monterey Street. Did you consider that, Julie?
You mean coming from,
Say, coming south, you'd end up, if you're on 101, you'd end up having to get off on 156 and then come into town on Monterey Street. And then everybody goes with wherever. The one thing I didn't think of, and I agree with Scott, is farmers, having to move farm equipment. So they would have to use Prescott and go to Lucy Brown and then get onto 156
correct.
or whatever. But then they do go on 156 anyway. But I just didn't know if you had considered that option.
So the sign at the 101 saying you can't get through, so you drive past.
I see. Sorry, Don and I are having a discussion about, so you're suggesting that people that are coming from north get off of 101, go on 156 and take this direction too.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if you had considered that and if you had, looked into that.
We looked at different routes, but mainly this is the traffic control plan that the contractor had their traffic engineer drafted. And I want to say that they looked at other option, but this is what they proposed to us. So we were looking at this traffic control plan versus having one lane open at the other traffic plans. I, as a traffic engineer, I have not sat down and look at other options. This is what has been proposed by the contractor to us.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
And I was looking at option A, killing a couple of birds with one stone. Sorry, birds. Not having 18-wheelers come through town because they would be stopped literally in their tracks. And speeding. At a previous council meeting, there were discussions of people going through First Street at the barricade and all the way through town in either direction. And I was thinking that having the whole entire intersection closed would work that as well. Is the high school actually open now?
No, they're not open yet, but I believe that they are, based on the conversation that I had with Michelle, was they're looking forward to get like this, just, the stimulus fund that they're talking about. So they're trying to put a plan together to open the school, but they don't know when that's going to be open, but currently they're not in session.
Okay, so the school is potentially a moot point there.
But they mentioned to me, sorry, Mayor Jordan,
No,
they mentioned
go
that
ahead.
they still have the special students that they have to still be picked up and then take to school. I think they have it like a special program. So the regular session is not, the regular students are not in session, but they still have special students that they have to attend the school.
Understood.
And if I may answer or respond back to the concerns that you raised, you're absolutely correct. We have heard about speeding in that area, but what my experience has been that as soon as you have construction starting and they know that they have to go through, being stopped, going through Flagger, hopefully that's gonna, slow people down a little bit. And when I talked to Captain Eric from Sheriff's Department, he was saying that from his experience, any location where we installed a roundabout, that caused less accidents and less speeding. So hopefully after the project is done, that's going to help that area tremendously.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with that. Great, thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
Can I say one more thing? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
absolutely. No, absolutely.
No, I just I'm concerned about the trucks getting in and and messing up the while construction is going on. Has that been considered, or are the detour signs going to be enough to detour the big trucks? I'm not talking regular trucks. I'm talking the big semis that come through on First Street.
Right. I mean, that is a good question, but the contractor with the detour plan, I mean, the traffic control plan that I shared with you earlier, they have thought about how they would have enough room for the big truck. They would make sure that they would slow down, give them advance notices. And even we were talking about having an arrow board, a sign right as you come out of the freeway. So maybe the large truck knows that there's going to be delay in the future. But I believe the hope is that once they see that they're going to get delay going through that, that route, that they would avoid that area as much as they can. But at the end of the day, this is on the applicant and their contractor to accommodate any traffic that it goes through that area, even with having one lane open.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank
Councilmember
you.
Edge?
Yes.
Can we have a sheriff as a flagger to take
Yeah.
and Julie,
Could I
is there a possibility of getting a one of those traffic boards at Prescott to deter anybody that's not local traffic to take a right and go out to 101 and either come down 156 at 101 or go around from Prescott around through Lucy Brown? A traffic board just saying, don't come into town.
Let me make a note of that, and I'll discuss that with the contractor to see if they can accommodate that, to have an arrow board at the freeway, so if the traffic is coming out of 101, off of 101, they know that the road is there's going to be delay, basically. I'll mention that to the contractor. We'll discuss it.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? Yes,
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, EJ. You have 3 minutes.
First, I sent an email to several of you that was a letter to the city council on behalf of a group of Rancho Vista residents that got together and discussed this. I sent it, I believe, early enough to be included on the agenda, but I don't know that it was, or maybe I didn't follow the right process. So I'm wondering about that. I have it here and I can read it really quickly. In response to the city's post about the closure on Lavignino. Oh,
we got it.
Yes. Okay.
I got it and I read it.
Okay. So there were a lot of points not discussed here about that. Some big ones are, does the 3rd Street entrance alone to the Rancho community provide enough egress for the homes in and out? Is one point of egress even allowed in terms of safety and EMS access? So there's a few points on there, and I was hoping to have gotten specific comments or feedback on those points from the city council.
Thank you, EJ. I don't know that we can answer those. That would probably be Julie or some of our emergency services.
Okay, understood. Thank you. And then
Thank you.
Lastly, I think a sign at the beginning of town, shooing people out would be very detrimental to our already suffering downtown businesses.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. Sure.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
We had David Maderos.
David, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I got a twofold question or concern or whatever. Is there going to be a traffic study before and after the roundabout goes in? Is my question there. If that, because we do have a speeding problem on First Street. And I think if we had a traffic study before and after the roundabout goes in, be great. The other thing is the roundabout itself. Is that roundabout a gateway to San Juan Bautista or not? Or is it just a roundabout for a residential neighborhood? And if that's the case, then if it's a gateway, how is it a gateway? Is it different than just any roundabout? Does it signify you're entering San Juan Bautista with some kind of signage or what have you? That being said, the other thing is, what about the signage on First Street all the way out of town? Our residential area has grown, our city limit has grown to accommodate Rancho Vista. That is all residential area. People go through there 65 miles an hour, and they should not be doing that. I suggest that we look at traffic study before and after the roundabout goes in, whether it's a gate place or not, a gateway or not. And what about signage? How are we going to control traffic? I would have to say the majority of speedsters that come through here is an inconvenience to those people who are just driving through, going from from A to B, and not really care about stopping in town, maybe going to work, coming back to work from Hollis or whatever, because stop signs don't help. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment?
Sorry.
I don't see anyone else, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Public
Madam
comment.
Mayor,
Yeah, go
can I-
ahead.
Can I add a couple more things? I'd like to piggyback on the EJ's thing. He kind of beat me to it because I was trying to squeeze in right before him. In light of what happened today, I mean, we had multiple communities within a half an hour from here evacuating today. That is that First Street is our northern egress out of town, and it's an evacuation route. I would hate to see it closed. Especially what we've had 4 or 5 decent earthquakes just recently. Well, kind of decent to newcomers. But I think we should, it needs to be, we need to have some type of egress out of there. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, just a couple of more statements, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead, John.
Just following up with Scott and talking to EJ, I completely agree that the 3rd Street access from north to Donner, I think it is, it's only 1 lane wide. It is a bit of a problem right now. And I think if we tried to force all the cars from Rancho Vista through that, it would be a considerably worse problem. And so, and that's one of the reasons why I just right out of the gate just advocated for 1 lane traffic control on First Street and 129, because it would just the 3rd Street is an issue at that area because it's only 1 lane wide. And so that's important, and what Scott just said is really important too. Evacuation, emergency vehicles, all that.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Julie, I guess you have a couple of questions to answer, but it sounds like direction from the council is to go ahead with option B. Option B, keeping 1 lane open?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, are we good on that? Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation.
Sure. You okay?
Yeah.
Update on COVID-19 and effects to our community and San Benito County. City Manager, you're up.
Hey, Mayor, we can get through this quick. Okay. One of the big topics that we've had with our business forum on Wednesday mornings is the subject of making parklets permanent. So we created a subcommittee. I'm just getting an echo. Could you go over that,
Sure.
please? I'm sorry.
Dawn, you need to put your
I
volume
can-
up now that she's off. We can't hear you.
Thank you, Liz. That's very.
Nope, not yet.
Does it work now?
There.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So the business forum on Wednesday mornings has been focusing on the idea of making parklets permanent. I've gone through and analyzed the city's codes in that regard and shared and had a long discussion with the city attorney and David Mack, our city planner. David Mack and Deb Mall caution us about jumping into something like that. And so I brought to the committee a recommendation that we do a comprehensive study of our downtown before we commit to making parklets permanent. So I would like to bring a full report to the council in this regard to a special meeting on February 9th. Hopefully we can have the full council available that night and we can talk strictly about our downtown and the 3rd Street. And recently received an email from the Historical Society agreeing that parklets should not be permanent. So what I've experienced in Salinas was a comprehensive approach that created something called the Downtown Vibrancy Plan. And it addressed traffic circulation in one whole chapter, and a second chapter, parking, and a third chapter, creating housing opportunities downtown, and then a 4th chapter, making downtown that destination. Now, San Juan has already accomplished that. Downtown is a destination, no doubt about it. You've got a leg up on most cities in the state. But all those pieces come together because, as Yolanda Delgado, Commissioner Delgado, who sits on those meetings, has pointed out, that when we reduce speeds and traffic on 3rd Street, we're forcing traffic onto 4th, onto her street. And so is there a need for stop signs and a traffic study and evaluation? And then it also came up that when you make parklets permanent, then you're actually surrendering right-of-way. You're abandoning right-of-way where you have infrastructure. We have water lines and other things to think about. So it was a discussion that we thought we'd tee up for February 9th if the council's open to that idea. And we talked mostly about parklets and what a permanent program would look like in this city, and how it needs to be a comprehensive policy. So we're meeting again Wednesday and Thursday, tomorrow and Thursday, and we'll carry the conversation forward. But I'm hoping the council can agree to a special meeting on the 9th. I think almost all of us were paying attention Friday afternoon when the county enforcement policy was adopted. The policy is a tool for us as well as a tool for the county. In conversations with Ray Espinoza before the county meeting occurred at 6 p.m., I asked him questions about enforcement, for example, and he's open to the idea of hiring additional enforcement to help us enforce this policy. And it does a much more comprehensive job than our own policy. It has escalating fines up to $10,000 for a business owner. It talks about large gatherings on private property, such as the parties that we've heard in our neighborhood over the holidays. It just goes a lot further. So it's a tool that we can use in addition to our own law. So if the city cites someone under the county's law, the county gets the revenue. But the whole point is to deter businesses from not following the laws. So to that end, we are active and trying our best. The mayor and I met with the sheriff today We had a really good conversation about enforcing on Third Street. And I think everyone has a really good understanding now about what we need to do, working closely with the ABC in this case and the liquor license that this business owner has. And so we continue to monitor that. I found this quote in an article today from a City Manager magazine. And the question was asked, have any counties been penalized by the state? And the answer was that no counties have faced penalties. The city of Atwater and Coalinga have. They allowed their businesses to stay open by declaring them essential in Coalinga's case, or declaring the entire city a sanctuary for local businesses in the case of Atwater. And they have lost out on money that was redirected for testing, according to this. There are consequences to not enforcing this law. And when I saw this article, I thought of us. Another well-known case, at least in my neck of the woods, is the city of Manhattan Beach that had reopened their parklets only to close them because the cases were just out of control in Manhattan Beach down in Southern California. I hope that most of the council has signed up for vaccinations. Some people have already had appointments for Tier 1B, and the vaccinations are rolling out. The county has created an entire website dedicated to vaccinations, so it tells you how to sign up. I know that our team working in the water and wastewater functions are now eligible to sign up for Tier 1B, and so we're going to get our crews on the front line signed up, including Rich. And I'm still working on the community liaison, so I think our two most vulnerable employees, because they're out there in the community a lot, and we want to get them vaccinated as soon as possible. So,
Hey, Don,
yes.
can we ask Rosa Vivian to fill us in on that?
If she's still on the call, yes. I did mention to her the need for help with
Which is
Yeah.
with Rich.
Yes, we are able to vaccinate right now healthcare providers and persons 65 and older and farm workers.
Okay, that's great, and we appreciate your support. The mayor or city council have any other questions? I would defer to Rosa Vivian on vaccinations. She's the expert.
Councilman Freeman, do you have any questions, comments, concerns?
Well, right now, no, thank you. It's a good report and good. I think we're going the right way.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friels?
Nothing really to add. Thank you. The sign up is super easy though for the vaccines. If I can do it, anybody can. Thanks.
Vice Mayor Flores?
No comment. Thank you all for all the work that you're doing. It's going to help our community at large.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Edge? Sorry.
It's okay.
Councilman Edge?
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions. Just, I want to thank everybody for their hard work and, for being involved with our community. It's great. All the applicants that applied for the planning commissioner, I urge you to put your application into the city so that you can see if we can get you on the ad hoc committee for urban growth boundary.
Thank you. Do we have any public, can you put your slides back up again for a second, please?
What?
Don, put slides up again, please.
In particular, or?
Okay, no, that was the one. Thank you. And thank you for checking on our city workers to get them into a tier, a 1 tier. Thank you. Do we have any public comment on COVID-19 or?
Yes, Jackie has her hand raised.
Thank you. Jackie, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just want to say, yes, I think it's wonderful that the County Board of Supervisors passed the ordinance. I know we have a rogue business on 3rd Street. And I just want to say, as a community member, it's really disheartening because everybody else is really trying to do their part to keep the community safe. And I know that your hands have been tied, but I feel like, this has been a long, drawn out issue. It's been going on since May. And what really bothers me now is that they have the very public group that is anti mandates and anti-public health ordinances, Open Up San Benito. And they've come to town and they've rallied behind this business owner. It's not gossip, it's facts. And that really bothers me. I don't know what you can do. I maybe call the sheriff, because I understand that the leading member was out in the street and stopping traffic and causing a ruckus. We don't need that in our small town. We're community based. We don't need that. We get along with each other. We support businesses, and we just do not need that. So hopefully this is going to help you do what you need to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Do we have any other public comment? No closing public comment. Thank you very much. Special meeting on February 9th, I guess. If everybody can make that, that would be awesome. Shauna, can we get a roll call vote to see that we're all available on this? Or show of hands?
Yes. Either. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Edge. You're muted, Madam Edge.
To get a special meeting together on February 9th.
Let me look.
Tuesday. At them every week. We should be able to do this.
So that would be, a Tuesday. Yeah. No, I'm fine. Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Flores.
Yes.
Councilmember Friels.
Yeah, I'm going to try.
Councilmember Freeman.
I think I'm available. Yes.
And Madam Mayor.
Yes. Thank you.
What time?
Regular time, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can have staff set that up and public notification and all that stuff.
You bet.
Thank you very much. Okay, comments. City Council. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Cesar.
I just want to share my concern for COVID. 2 days ago, I lost one of my cousins who she went to a rest home because she had an accident and she caught COVID there and she died. So that is a third individual that's been real close to me that's passed away in the last month. So COVID-19 is really dangerous. Just want to let everybody know. Be careful. That's all.
Thank you. City Attorney,
Nothing.
final comments?
Nothing.
Thank you very much.
I think you skipped the council comments.
Sorry, I went backwards. Thank you.
It's okay.
Any other council comments? John?
I'd just like to agree with Caesar, and I'm sorry to hear about his loss. And it is bad news, and we need to stay vigilant and protect ourselves.
Thank you. Councilman Friels?
I'd like to reiterate what John said. I'm sorry for your loss, sir. I do have a friend that lost her father just recently too. So yeah, it's a real deal. I was hoping in the near future we can start a real serious conversation about First Street. I've been approached by at least 4 or 5 people, and I have to agree. I live on one of the cross streets off of First Street, and it's a racetrack. And we really need to slow it before a kid gets hit or or a pet. I think we need to address that in the next month or two. If we could, please. maybe start with a discussion of it. Get public members from First Street out there to give their firsthand accounts. And we have kind of two sections of First Street. We have the barrier wall part, and then we have the other one. We need to figure out what we can do with that because it's getting a little scary. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Edge?
I think I already said my piece.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Manager? Final comments?
Fine, thanks.
Thank you. City Clerk, final comments?
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, I am excited to have joined you tonight in tonight's meeting. I wanted to let you know that, as you can see it with tonight's agenda, my first focus is going to be on agenda preparation for the city. I really want to enhance the ability for the public to participate and to know how to participate. And you've seen that on tonight's agenda with more in-depth agenda item descriptions and instructions on public participation. So again, that's my first goal. And I've met with the city manager and found out his at least two of his priorities that he shared with me so far for the city clerk's office. And I look forward to working with you going forward.
Sure. Great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, they were great. Thank you. I appreciate all your help on that.
You bet.
Thank
Good
you,
job,
everybody. Thank you, everybody who participated this evening. Lots of participation. That was really cool. Thanks for adding that onto the agenda item, Shauna. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call vote?
Don't need it.
We don't need one.
Nope.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do, actually.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's in the rules. Shauna,
Okay.
Can we please get a roll call vote?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Edge,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Friels,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes, thank you very much.
That motion carries with a 5-0. You are now adjourned.
Everybody have a good evening.
Have a good night.
Good night.
You
Good night.
all.
Hi,
Dawn.
everyone.
Thank you all for all your hard work.
Take care. Be safe.